Chapter 108. Just as Michael was dashing towards a small cave, a bunch of netherils was feasting on a group of youngsters in the distance. Their shrieks sent a chill running through many spines who saw this scene. Michael ignored this and dashed straight into the cave, wasting no time. However, before he completely dashes into the cave, he saw a familiar ice spike penetrating through the netherils, saving some of the youngsters from being the appetizer for the netherils. The cave was small and had just enough room for him. Yet, this small cave was a sanctuary and a calm place to stay safe. Michael sat on the ground, and because of his full black clothes, he merged with the cave's darkness, and one could not see him in the cave. "This is mine." When he was just about to open the system storage and count the herbs he collected, he saw a rogue cultivator rushing towards the cave. "Leave," Michael calmly said as the cultivator halted his steps suddenly and looked closely into the cave. Yet, instead of turning his back and leaving the cave, the cultivator decided to step in and chase the previous occupant, Michael. Wind blast whoosh. The moment he took another step towards Michael, a gust of wind sent the cultivator flung back like a kite without an anchor. "Who the fuck dared to attack me?" The cultivator who was attacked forgot about the approaching nightfall in anger and rushed towards the cave after picking himself up. "Ghost." However, this time when the cultivator heard the voice from the cave, he felt a cold chill running through his spine. He then immediately lowered his sword and stood there shivering in fear. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 100 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 300 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 400 badass points. Forgive me, Master Ghost, I didn't. No, it was you. Don't kill me. Michael was surprised to see the cultivator dropping to his knees and starting to beg. He didn't expect a rogue cultivator like him to know his name. He just told his name, so someone from the river town or someone who knows him would recognize the name and stay out of the cave as well as want the others. However, this rogue cultivator recognized his name and even went to the lengths to beg made Michael pleased because finally his legend has started to spread across the land. "Leave," he hid his joy and said with a serious voice. "Thank you, Master Ghost." The rogue cultivator groveled and ran as fast as he could from Michael's sight. "It feels so great to be feared at," he thought to himself, and deep down, he craved for this feeling. Ever since he was little, he didn't root for heroes, but rooted for the villains. This did not change even after he grew up. For example, his favorite characters were Sauron and Voldemort. His love for villains influenced him more than he realizes. Does the host fear Aragoth? Suddenly the system asked and surprised him. "Why do you ask?" He switched off the earpiece and asked the system. "Because you could have taken all the herbs for yourself and showed that you're the boss, but instead, you gave all the precious herbs to Nathan and lost the chance of earning badass points, and also few powerful enemies. I'm not that guy Noah system. I know what you're trying to do. You want me to make more enemies and buy things from you to survive them. I don't know what you are and what your end game is, but you should have known this by now. I'm not suicidal, and you cannot make me do anything unless I want to," he calmly explained. The system stayed silent because it knew Michael isn't easy to manipulate as it first thought. Now that the system stayed silent, he was able to count the herbs and plan his next movements. Deep down, he was glad that Noah and his group did not come to the garden, and even though he wasn't afraid of Noah, he wanted to avoid the fight until he could gather enough information about Noah and the power behind him. "Jush! What the—" In a flash, the light outside disappeared like someone switched off the lights of the nether realm. There was no dusk as it turned dark without a sign. "When I was young, my friend had an accord. I was kicked out without a record. I never thought I'd see that award. Ain't a soul alive that could take my friend's board. A cruel power is quite the shower. Thinking of death." Yes, thinking of death. When he switched on the earpiece, he was welcomed by Gaia's rap. "I don't know who wrote this song, but I guess it's you." Michael laughed, and the moment she heard his voice, she stopped rapping. "Where the fuck did you go?" She was annoyed when he went radio silent, and he listened to her singing, made her feel even more annoyed. You did the right thing. A contract with Aragoth is more valuable than those herbs. After he explained what he did in the garden, Gaia agreed with him and supported his decision. Just when he was about to reply, the environmental scanning detected a hostile activity nearby. Hello, is this thing broken again? KRK, stop biting the earpiece. I'm sensing a Netheril horde nearby. Is that normal in Netherrealm? Netheril horde? Weird, by hearing her tone, he could tell that it is not normal. He wanted to check what's going on outside, but at the same time, he didn't want to get killed because of his curiosity. They're marching towards somewhere, like soldiers. If the Netherils were moving chaotically, Michael would have felt this curious. They were marching towards somewhere like trained soldiers. Are you sure? Because the Netheril horde is not capable of marching like soldiers, said Gaia. For 1,000 badass points, the system can mask your scent and project you from getting detected by the Netherils. While he was stuck between curiosity and safety, he heard the system's voice. That's more like it. When it comes to situations like this, the system had perfect solutions. Considering he had no solution of his own, he decided to get whatever the system is selling, so he could check out where the Netherils are heading. Just after 1,000 badass points disappeared from the stat menu, he felt a strange sensation in his body. The host is now ready to explore the Nether Realm without fearing the Netherils. I have a way to find out what's going on here, he said, and stood up to leave the cave, taking advantage of the darkness. Of course you do, you freak. In masking my scent using a special potion, Gaia believed him because she knew that the mysterious light and Ubras soul blessed him with ancient knowledge, which enables Michael to perform miracles like this one. He slowly stepped forward while checking whether anyone near him, and after confirming that no one would see him leave the cave, he left the cave. He didn't use the lightning dash as it might draw some unwanted attention, and because of his black clothes, he perfectly merged with the darkness and disappeared. While heading towards the Netheril horde, he couldn't see the garden in the sky. It made him realize that after nightfall, the places which had treasures may not appear for him to loot. However, the purpose of this night visit was not looting, but to unveil the mystery behind the marching Netheril horde. There they are. After walking in the direction of the Netheril horde, Michael saw hundreds of Netherils marching towards somewhere. Fortunately, what the system did worked, and none of the Netherils in the horde could detect him following them. What's happening there? Gaia asked in a husky voice. I will keep you posted. Now stay silent, he said, and continued to follow the Netherils. Eventually, the Netherils entered into a thick forest, but the uneven ground and obstacles were unable to slow down their marching speed. After entering the forest, Michael climbed up the trees and followed them by jumping from branch to branch using the Mark III grapple hook. And because of this height advantage, he noticed a bonfire at the distance. I bet these Netherils are heading towards there, slightly increasing his speed. Michael moved towards the bonfire, but he was cautious not to make any sounds that could bring him unwanted attention. Ekis and Wazneen's Kawonks, Neekstool sees Neefin. As he got closer to the bonfire, he began to hear someone chanting something in an unknown language. Is that an orc? When he got close enough, he saw a figure standing in front of a bonfire and sculptures made of bones. The figure looked just like one of the orcs from the movie Lord of the Rings, ugly and evil. This is getting more and more interesting. Chapter 109. An orc with a summoner trait, standing atop a branch. Michael scanned the orc and identified its trait. The orc wore ragged robes, and the robes had mud and bloodstains on them. While the Netheril horde was walking towards the orc, Michael kept looking around the place to see if there's anything or anyone stronger than him nearby. The orc was only at the body refining stage level 9, and the strongest Netherils were only at the level body strengthening stage level 5. If he fought as Lucifer, no one in the body strengthening stage could survive the battle with him, and if he fought without using fear toxin or death range, only body strengthening stage level 9, and 10 could fight him head-to-head. However, now that he had enough experience points to reach the body strengthening stage level 3, no one in the body strengthening stage could win a fight against him after he reaches the body strengthening stage level 3. As he was watching the orc from above, he saw a small journal in the orc's hands and realized the orc is chanting the lines in the journal. "Come, my children, kneel before me." The orc's voice was rough and animalistic, just like in the movies. To Michael's surprise, the entire horde of netherils kneeled down. "I did it! Ha ha!" The orc's mad laughter echoed through the silent hills and forest. In its eyes, Michael saw pride as well as anger. "Father, brother, I'll avenge you. Soon, they'll plague the world with undead and kill every single one in the Guardian Guild. This day gets better and better." Seeing the orc could summon and control the netherils, Michael already planned to start a netheril farm, and hearing that the orc has a hatred toward the Guardians was like a cherry on top. "System, can we take this orc outside without getting detected by the Guardians?" By looking at the wounds on its body and what it just said, Michael figured out that the orc's life is in danger. He didn't give a damn about the orc's well-being, but if he could save the orc from the Guardians, he could use the orc to level up rapidly. Therefore, he wanted to stop the orc from doing anything stupid like going to war with the Guardians and take orc to the Abyssal, where the orc could stay safe and summon netherils for him to kill. Plus, the Abyssal may be the safest place to summon netherils without getting detected by the Guardians. Of course, Michael would make sure they won't find out anything about his little secret activity in the dark forest with the help of the system. Oh! Suddenly Michael detected another presence nearby, and it wasn't a netheril. When he turned in the presence's direction, he noticed a dark red-haired youngster rushing towards the bonfire with a long spear in his hand. Is that the guy who was with Noah before? Michael saw this youngster before when he dashed into the portal. He was with Noah and Alicia. An hour ago, inside a worn-out cabin, there was a group of youngsters sitting on the floor. "Damn it, Noah. I told you we should look for treasures instead of that orc." Norvin, the golden Babaru, curled up against Maisie's chest and complained. "I heard Ghost and some disciples of Aragoth picked all the rarest herbs in the Sky Garden." Abel sighed thinking about those precious herbs and said, "Capturing that orc is our first priority, Abel. If we don't, there will be another Slyhaven massacre." Abel and the others didn't talk back after hearing Noah's serious voice, while only Maisie looked confused. "Big brother Noah, what's Slyhaven massacre?" There was an awkward silence for a few moments before Alicia opened her mouth. Slyhaven was a village far away from Kethin. "A few weeks ago, someone summoned netherils from this realm." "Why?" asked Maisie before Alicia could finish her sentence. "We don't know, but the Guardian suspects that the one who summoned them was practicing an evil ritual. The one who summoned picked two places and summoned the netherils, Rivertown in Breedia and Slyhaven in Kethin. Apparently Rivertown was just a distraction to keep the Guardians away from Slyhaven," Abel said, gritting his teeth. "The netherils attacked the village and massacred every single one of them. When the Guardians and the Baron's men came, it was already too late. Just by hearing the story, Maisie felt sad for the villagers, and then her little face reddened in anger towards the culprit who summoned the netherils. Did you get the vile creature who was responsible for their death? The ones who summoned the netherils were 3 orcs. Peyton and Zanali killed the 2 of them, but the last one escaped. We must capture the last orc and investigate it to know more about their plans, and how did they manage to summon the netherils from this realm to the outside world in the first place," Noah said, and before Maisie asked another question, he continued, "Guardian Captain Gerard believes the 3rd orc somehow entered the nether realm, and since only body refining cultivators can enter here, we have to search and capture the orc before there's another massacre." "Oh, that's what you were talking with him," Maisie said as Noah nodded. "Big brother, you should have said this earlier. I will help you scour through this entire nether realm with you to find that orc." Maisie stood up as she put her hand on the chest and said. Noah smiled at the little girl. "I know you will, Maisie. Big brother, what happened in Rivertown?" After hearing about the Slyhaven, Maisie wanted to know what happened in Rivertown, because even though Abel said it was a distraction, she wanted to know what happened to the netherils that went to Rivertown. "They were all killed by Ghost," Abel answered Maisie as Alicia scowled when she noticed a tinge of admiration in Abel's eyes. "He did not kill all of them. He just stupidly started a fight with netherils without thinking about the people in Rivertown or waiting for the Guardians to arrive." "Do not admire him, Abel. He's a selfish bastard. You saw what he did to that man who tried to take shelter in the cave." Alicia spoke with a cold look on her face. "That's not what the Rivertown people think of him. They say he saved him from the Netheril attack. And also, I don't admire him. I just wish he doesn't turn out to be another bad guy. The world has enough bad guys as it is. I don't know he's bad or not, but he's definitely not a good person. Stop it, Alicia. What did he do to you? You're just jealous that he's better than your sweetheart. The golden Babaru let out an evil grin and teased Alicia. Shut up, monkey. I'm sure Big Brother Noah can kick his ass any day, Maisie proudly said as everyone turned their gaze at Noah to hear his answer. I honestly don't know. After seeing him kill a group of youngsters on the Phoenix Island and how he vanished after facing Julius, Noah wasn't sure that he could defeat him. Deep down, Noah knew he's a better swordsman than him yet. Noah also knew that it's only temporary as Ghost doesn't have what he does. You're just playing with me, Big Brother. I know you can beat him. Hell, if I get the chance, I'll show him who's the boss. After the fight with the Lane family and the pills and potions gifted to her by Noah, she was able to reach the body refining stage level 8 in a matter of days. Coupled with her cultivation level and her innate ability, she was damn confident that she could face any body refining stage cultivators except Noah and Alicia. In her eyes, only Noah and Alicia were powerful, and people like Ghost are just overrated. Noah just smiled and didn't answer Maisie as he was thinking about the orc. His train of thoughts was stopped when he saw Abel stand up to leave the cabin. What are you up to? Asked the golden Babaru. Did you forget what I said to you before? He said, and showed his wrist to the monkey. On his forearm, there was a star-shaped mark, and in the darkness, it glistened. This is the mark of God. No Netheril or any evil forces can sense my presence, but dash. Let him go, Alicia. This is the reason I brought Abel here. Only he can go search all the caves and shelters for that orc. Noah interrupted Alicia. At first, they worried about Abel's safety, but after Noah explained the effects of the mark, they agreed to let Abel go outside. If you face any trouble that you can handle, use this. Noah tossed Abel a circle talisman. A long-range teleporter talisman. Where did you get this? Looking at the glistening talisman in his hand, Abel asked in surprise. Zanali, now go find the orc so we can focus on finding treasures. Noah waved him off as Abel left the cabin to search for the orc. At this moment, Abel did not know that the orc is not the only one he's going to find. Chapter 1:10. Abel was roaming around and searching the shelters when he saw a horde of Netherils marching into the forest. Because of the mark on his forearm, he was fearless of the Netherils and followed them behind to see where they were going. The orc's laughter didn't help it, but revealed its location to Abel. Standing on top of a branch and hiding within the darkness, Michael noticed Abel approaching the orc with his spear raised. The distance between the orc and Abel rapidly decreased, but the orc had no idea of the upcoming danger. What's on his forearm? Michael frowned, looking at light radiating from Abel's forearm. In a few moments, Abel leaped out of the darkness and landed near the bonfire, startling the orc. Who? The orc stumbled back in shock, and before it could order the Netherils to attack the intruder, Abel's spear tip glowed and let out golden rays of light. Holy blast! The rays of light transformed into a small orb and dashed at the orc, who was still trying to stand on its feet. Boom! However, just as the orc was struggling to stand up, the light orb Abel sent blasted the orc and nailed it onto the tree behind. You will pay for all the lives you took, you filthy miscreant. Abel's eyes were filled with rage. He was doing his best to control his anger and killing the orc on the spot. The golden light soon wrapped around the orc's mouth as well as its body, leaving the orc with no room to wiggle or even move its finger. They'll take care of these later, but for now, you're coming with me. Although the orc was at body refining stage level 9, and Abel was at only level 8, the wounded the orc suffered weakened it to great extent. Coupled with Abel's attack speed and surprise entrance, he was able to capture the orc without much trouble. Abel looked at the orc struggling to move, but it could only move its eyes. Those eyes were filled with shock and fury. If looks could kill, Abel would have died 1,000 times. Ironically, even with the army of Netherils in its control, the orc couldn't save itself from getting captured. It desperately tried to open its mouth and gave an order to the Netherils in front of it, as without its order, the Netherils literally wouldn't do anything. Suddenly, Abel noticed the change in the orc's eyes. Previously, they were radiation, anger, and shock, but now they were wide and filled with immense terror. He saw the orc wildly wiggling its body to escape, as Abel could tell the orc's gaze is not on him, but on something behind him. Puff! Just as Abel was about to turn back, the bonfire doused out as the surrounding turned pitch black. What? In the darkness, Abel saw a pair of red eyes looking at him. With no control over his body, he began to shiver and feel overwhelming fear. Leave, the orc is mine. Abel's heart skipped a beat when he heard the unearthly voice and stumbled back. His meditation to keep himself calm, despite the situation, started to fail him as he couldn't stop being afraid of the red eyes before him. Nonetheless, Abel mustered all of his courage to fight his fear and screamed. Soon, the tip of the spear glowed again, and in the light, he vaguely saw the red eyes' face. The orc shook its body and fought to escape the light shackles. The skinless face, red eyes, and ghostly voice freaked out the orc and wanted to escape before the red eyes changed their focus towards it. Thud! 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 Because of Abel's lack of concentration on the shackles around the orc, they became slightly weaker and gave enough room for the orc to smash its head against a tree. Michael, who was in his Lucifer form, was surprised to see Abel fighting the fear toxin's effects. Michael gave Abel the chance to escape, but if Abel decided to fight, he had no problem killing Abel. The orc is dash whoosh. Michael's words were abruptly stopped by Abel's spear throw. Abel was fast, but Michael was faster. When the spear was just an inch away from him, he caught the spear. So you've chosen death. Abel's eyes went wide in shock, looking at the spear helplessly vibrate in Michael's hand. He tried to summon the spear back to him with all his remaining courage, but the spear couldn't escape the clutches of Lucifer. Who are you? Abel asked while trying to crawl back in fear. He tried to see the red eyes' cultivation level, but shockingly, he was unable to. Death range. Michael knew people like Abel would have something up their sleeve, so he instantly activated the death range, which would make him 35% stronger and faster inside the range. Right after he activated the skill, Michael overpowered the spear completely as the spear stopped trembling. Looking at his weapon surrender itself, Abel knew he couldn't fight the being in front of him. While fighting against the overwhelming fear in his heart with his last bit of courage, he tried to take out the teleportation talisman that Noah gave him. No, you don't. Michael was glad he activated the death range when he saw Abel take out something. Thanks to the death range and the speed boost, he was quick enough to prevent Abel from using the item by throwing the spear at Abel. Pulch! The spear soared through the darkness and struck Abel on his shoulder. The teleportation scroll slipped away from Abel's fingers as Michael dashed at Abel to finish the job before he could use something else or Noah and his group arrive. Noah, will, come, Pulch. Before Abel could finish what he was about to say, Michael took out the spear from Abel's shoulder and stabbed him through the chest. Asterisk cough. Abel coughed out blood as Michael stabbed him again, ding. Congratulations to the host for killing a body refining stage level 8 cultivator. The reward is 6,000 experience points and 8,000 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for killing the ally of a powerful foe. The reward is an epic mystery box. Thud. After Abel died, the light shackles that wrapped around the orc disappeared, making the orc fall down to the ground. Michael gave no time for the orc to act, as he dashed at the orc and lifted the orc by its neck. Order them to devour his body. With the help of arch-energy, Michael controlled the amount of fear toxin radiating from his suit of armor and let the orc inhale just as much as he wanted it to without killing the orc. The orc could barely breathe as it slowly nodded with difficulty. Eat him. The very next moment, the orc uttered these two words. The netherils came back to life again and swarmed around Abel's body like a pack of hungry vultures around a lump of juicy meat. In mere seconds, they chewed through Abel's body and even ate most of his bones. Looking at the few reading bones of Abel, Michael didn't regret his decision to kill Abel a bit, because he gave Abel the chance to escape, but it was he who chose to fight and ultimately die. He then turned his gaze back to the orc. You can either die here with him or come with me to live. Your choice, don't kill me. The orc could barely speak these words, and after grinning behind the skull mask, he activated the lightning dash and disappeared from the area, taking the orc with him. Michael didn't stop running until he put a few miles distance from where he killed Abel. He also didn't forget to store Abel's spear in the system store before scanning the spear for any hidden traps. As far as he was concerned, he didn't leave any evidence that could identify him as Abel's killer. Soon, the gates to the Nether Realm would close, and after that, the name Abel would be lost in the time. Michael stopped at a place where he was sure that there's no one around them. He and the orc reached a deserted cabin in the middle of the forest. Thud! Michael threw the orc onto the wall and watched it stand up with difficulty. He stopped using the fear toxin on the orc and let it breathe the fresh air for a change. What are you? The orc asked and stood on the corner, still shivering in pain. You don't need to know that just yet. He wanted to know more about the orc before revealing his identity. Of course, he wouldn't reveal his identity as Ghost. You summoned those netherils to attack Rivertown by connecting the dots of controlling the netherils, the orc's summoner trait, and the wounds on its body. He guessed the orc might be the sorcerer who was chased by Selena and Alex. You lie. You die. Michael warned the orc before it could spin a web of lies. The orc stood on the corner, swallowing the saliva in terror, as it even avoided looking directly into his red eyes. I just helped my father and brother. The orc surprised Michael with this answer, and by looking into its eyes, he could tell that the orc wasn't lying. Tell me everything. Chapter 111. For the last couple of minutes, the orc told everything Michael needed to know. According to the orc, he was named Delar, and he belonged to a long line of summoners, a faction called Deathwakers. The orc said his father and brothers are the ones who summoned the netherils, but he also said they did that as an experiment and not to attack anyone. Obviously, Michael was not a fool to believe the last part, yet he chose not to cross-question the orc because he didn't bring the orc here to punish him, but use the orc to level up quickly. As for the enmity between the orc and the Guardians, the matter was simple. The Guardians chased and killed Delar's father and brother, as well as all their family, including little orcs. Delar said he was learning summoning from his father and brother to build a kingdom unifying all the orc villages that were scattered throughout the continent. He somewhat believed Delar, because he did see Delar let out mad laughter after summoning the netherils, showing Michael that it was Delar's first time summoning netherils. Besides, if Delar was an expert in summoning netherils, he would have summoned stronger netherils. In his path to world domination, he knew the Guardians would stand against him. Therefore, a fight with the Guardians was inevitable, and if Delar could help him to fight, he would let Delar live to serve him as a subordinate. You can't win a fight against the Guardians. You almost died back there, and he was only a friend of trainee Guardian. Now tell me, Delar, do you really think you have the chance against the Guardian Guild? Despite their look, Orc was generally an intelligent race, so Delar could understand the power gap between him and the Guardians. Now that the entire Guardian Guild was searching for him, Delar realized that he needed someone powerful enough to protect him, and the being in front of him looked more terrifying than any Guardian he had met. Serve me well, and you'll not only get to see the Guardians destroyed, but also get a kingdom for your race. There was a glint of surprise hidden within Delar's eyes, but also doubt and suspicion. Will you serve me as my subordinate? Asked Michael. Considering he couldn't threaten the orc to be his subordinate, he had to offer Delar something and make him agree to be his subordinate willingly. Warning! 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 System. Error. Omega. Threat. However, the next moment, Michael's vision completely turned red and the system was screaming inside his mind. He instantly opened the system and saw the multiple warnings in the interface. System, what's happening? His heart was beating rapidly because without the system, his plans and path to domination would take a huge hit. Need 1,000 points to system. Reboot. Take it. He didn't think the system was faking it, but it sounded like screaming in pain. Soon after he gave permission to the system, his vision turned blank and the system's interface faded away from his sight. System back online. A few seconds after, The familiar system interface appeared before him, and only then he heaved a sigh of relief. What the heck was that? System level is too low to answer the host's question. System recommends the host not to make Dalar his subordinate. Why? System level is too low to answer the host's question. Weird, the system's behavior puzzled him. Dalar was indeed a powerful ally, but he wasn't worth the trouble if making him a subordinate would mess up the system. Although Michael wouldn't be able to see Dalar's loyalty if he didn't make him Dalar his subordinate through the system, he didn't require Dalar's utmost loyalty to use Dalar's summoning ability. However, unlike Gaia, he had to keep Dalar under his sight all day to make sure the orc doesn't plan anything on his own to rebel or betray him. For that, Michael decided to keep him locked up in the Abyssal and keep him under surveillance. Oh, my lord, when Michael closed the system, he saw Dalar stepping forward and kneeling down in front of him. Very good, as he said. Michael bought a syringe and stabbed Dalar in his neck. What dash? You said you opened up a secret portal to come here. Open up the portal again and go to the Dark Forest border. You'll meet my second in command, and she will give you the antidote or you'll die in 6 hours. Dalar stumbled back again and felt a cold chill running through his spine. Do you have a problem? Michael released a small amount of fear toxin to subjugate Dalar, and, as he planned, Dalar shook his head up and down rapidly after inhaling the fear toxin. No problem. My lord, Michael very well knew that if Dalar's loyalty is due to fear, it's not loyalty, but fear disguised as loyalty. Yet for now, Dalar's fear of him would work in his favor. Now leave. He ordered Dalar when he noticed the cultivation masking function had only a few minutes left before it stopped working and revealed his cultivation level. Therefore, Michael urged Dalar to leave his sight because he didn't want to reveal his cultivation level to Dalar. Yes, my lord, because Orc had natural healing ability, the wounds he suffered almost disappeared and Michael did not need to give him a healing potion. Dalar picked himself up and quickly ran away from the cabin to open up the portal and reach the Dark Forest before he dies. After he saw Dalar disappear from his environmental scanning, Michael also left the cabin and dashed towards the cave. On his way to the cave, he transformed from Lucifer to Ghost. The night was still dark and silent when he reached his cave. Inside the cave, Michael instantly opened the system and bought another set of suit of armor for Gaia. The armor was exactly like his Lucifer armor, except he asked the system to change the armor to fit her body. He also bought another black mask for her to hide her face. Due to the changes to the armor, he paid extra 1,000 badass points, but it was worth the points, and he couldn't wait to see Gaia in her new suit of armor. After he told Gaia what happened to Abel and everything about the orc, he opened up the system to see his current stats, as well as to see what the mystery box contained which he received after killing Abel. System version 2. 0 host. Michael cultivation level. Body refining stage. Level 10 experience points. 18000/200000. 960,000 experience points remaining to be consumed. Badass points. 26,000 skills and spells. Wind Blast. LVL 2 responsive shield. LVL 3 environment scanning. LVL 2 ignitia. LVL 2 lightning dash. LVL 2 energy devour. LVL 1 death range. LVL 2 techniques. Swords of Destiny. 86% mastery occupation. Core disciple of Sunrise Sect, the guardian of Sunrise Sect, Lord Lucifer of the Abyssal status. Healthy goals. Control the world, rebuild the order of death utility function. Banker. LVL 2, ratio 1,000 gold coins. 5 badass points. Wealth, 685,000 gold special trait. 5-star alchemist subordinates. Gaia, loyalty level 95%. Base of operation. Sunrise Sect, the Abyssal system. Open that mystery box. He was excited because the system's gift box would have something extremely valuable or useful to him. This time, he wanted a legendary weapon or a new spell. Soon, a grayish box appeared in front of him and trembled before it exploded into millions of tiny pieces, leaving Michael stunned. Where are my rewards? However, soon, he saw a white spot on his environmental scanning map. just like the time when the system marked the Book of Abyssal during the Phoenix Manor auction fair. Surprisingly, the location was not out there in the outside world, but the Nether Realm. A point of interest, I wonder what I would find there. Oh, speaking of locations, the system can you scan the Nether Realm and reveal me the treasures in here. System level is too low to scan the Nether Realm. But the system can tell you that treasures wouldn't appear during the nighttime. Bad luck. I was planning to steal all the treasures overnight. Michael sighed, thinking that his plan won't work. But still, his unlimited system storage space gave him the absolute advantage over everyone. System, after I killed that guy in the forest, you said I killed an ally of a powerful foe. By a powerful foe, did you mean Noah? System level is too low to answer the host question. Oh, come on. Can you at least tell me yes or no? The system went radio silent hearing the question, and Michael could only sigh and hope to receive an answer after he upgrades the system to the next level. For now, he decided to let the matter rest, as he wanted to go check out the location that the system gave him as a gift. Meanwhile, somewhere else, Noah and his friends were waiting for Abel to return, but they did not know that Abel had just left this world. By killing Abel, Michael started the Age of Darkness as the Dark Lord. How far would Michael go in the path of darkness to achieve his goals? How many innocents is he going to kill in the process of becoming the ultimate overlord of this world? Chapter 112. Stop it! Stop it! That is mine. Maisie shouted out loudly and lashed out of the thick forest into a lush grassland. At the same time, a sound echoed from the front. The sound was coming from a puppy that was injured as it limped while it ran. A group of youngsters was chasing after the puppy, and Maisie and Alicia were chasing behind them. However, those youngsters completely ignored Maisie. Instead, a pair of archers turned around and faced Maisie as they knocked their bows and released several arrows towards her and Alicia, all the while maintaining an eye on the puppy. Shoo! Shoo! At the same time, a pair of cold steel arrows darted in the air and made a whooshing sound as it soared threateningly towards both girls. Shit! Where do these bloody thieves come from? They'll kill you all. Maisie was enraged. Alicia knew she couldn't control this little girl, as she decided to let Maisie deal with these guys. Besides, she was more concerned about Abel and Noah, who went to search for him. Tightening her fist, she leaped into the air and she charged towards the pair of archers. Their faces turned serious as they retreated hurriedly. At the same time, they shouted out to their accomplices, "Kill them first before we decide what to do with that." The few of them listened to the instructions and hurriedly turned to Maisie in an utter surprise of his skills. A man held onto a sharp spear as he cast a glance at Maisie and Alicia and spoke out in shock. What the heck? That kid's a body refining level 8. Let's just kill the kid and her friend and get the real prize. Boom. 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 The pair of male archers and Maisie exchanged several blows. Their faces were grave as they spoke out in fear. Don't underestimate her. She's strong as fuck. Luckily, we managed to dodge her blows just by an inch. If not, we would have been fucked, oh? The three of them listened to his words and cast their gaze at Maisie. Looking at all their gazes turned towards Maisie, Alicia frowned because, among the group who were chasing after the puppy, 5 of them were body refining stage level 9. The pair of archers were in the 8th level of the body refining stage. The rest of them were level 8 body refining stage cultivators. Their combined number was 20 in Maisie, and she had no chance of surviving the battle without Noah with them. Initially, only Maisie and she were chasing the puppy, but because of the disciple from the Broad River sect who couldn't keep their mouths shut, many rogue cultivators joined the fight for the puppy. You go after our prize, and we'll deal with them. After giving the order, the rest of the group blocked Maisie and Alicia's path. Maisie's face turned red in anger as she kicked the ground and spoke out loud. I was the one who found it first. The rest of you started chasing it without saying anything and wanted to steal it from me. Run away before it'll break all your bones. All of them listened to the little kid speak and paused for a second before bursting out into intense laughter. Break our bones? Ha ha ha. That's hilarious. You two seem to be one of those freaks of nature. We get it, but look how many of us are here. You can't win this fight. It was us who saw it first, and it was you too who's trying to steal it from us. Besides, so what if you saw it first? This is Netherrealm, not your house. Even if you came from a big and powerful family, you are nothing but a chicken waiting to be slaughtered here. Alicia tried to stop Maisie before she does something rashly, but the little girl was too cocky. Fine, we'll do this the hard way then. Do you wish to battle us alone or together? I suggest all of you attack together so that I could go and break your underling's hands before he puts his dirty hands on my pet. The group paused again in shock at her big words. Their mouths were wide open like fools before they burst out in laughter again. Huh, I didn't hear wrongly, did I? Did this kid ask us to attack them all together? Kid, please don't assume that just because you've reached the body refining stage at this young age, you're unrivaled in this world. You should have taught that kid to keep her mouth shut, girl. People who think too highly of themselves will always meet their doom sooner rather than later. Clearly, your time to die isn't very far away. As they finished speaking, the few of them had mocking looks on their faces as it turned to cold laughter as they began their assault. Maisie's eyes squinted as she laughed coldly as well. Don't worry, my death date is still very far away. However, for the rest of you, you already have 1 foot into the realm of the dead. Alicia knew it was too late to back off as she prepared to fight off them and hoped Noah would come to their rescue. At this moment, she missed having Noah's pills and potions to boost their power level. Ha! What sharp tongue you have. What an ignorant fool. Kill them. Good. The man and woman duo acknowledged before casting their spells. Their flying swords flew up into the sky and circled around their heads before conjuring a flaming ring that hovered just above them. They both pointed towards Maisie and Alicia in unison. The pair of archers took several steps back in order to gain some distance. They summoned their arch energy to their hands and prepared to fire arrows. Boom! Just as the two sides about to clash, a body came back flying while spurting out blood all over them. The body collided heavily with a boulder some distance away, and the collision force left deep cracks onto the boulder. The sudden appearance of the body caused the ring of fire to disperse. Everyone, including Alicia and Maisie, stared at the headless body as one of the archers screamed out in horror. It's Bowen. Ghost! While the group was staring at the body, Alicia looked up to see Michael walking towards them. She also saw Maisie's pet sitting comfortably on his shoulder. Soon, one by one, everyone turned their gaze away from the body and noticed Michael. The man wielding the spear had an ashen look as he cast a glance towards Michael. His face showed both fear and shock. Did you kill him? The pair of them spoke out furiously through gritted teeth as they nocked another arrow. Michael's face was bright as a day because he had found it, a little baby dragon. Yes, the puppy they were chasing was not a puppy, but an actual baby dragon. Only Maisie and few others recognized it as a baby dragon, while many others thought of it as a rare magical beast cub. When Michael reached the system-marked location, he saw the baby dragon crying for help from the clutches of Bowen. The next and the last thing Bowen saw was just a flash of light before his head was separated from his shoulders. Michael then gently picked up the dragon and saw the wounds on its body. He immediately gave the baby dragon the healing potion and even gently poured it into its mouth. The baby dragon didn't feel any ill intentions from him, and after he cured its pain and made it feel safe, the baby dragon licked his face and wrapped its tail around his neck. Besides, he bought a piece of meat that the system recommended to him and fed the baby dragon on his way to kill everyone who tried to harm his dragon. Surprisingly more than the healing potion, it was this piece of meat that made the baby dragon love him so much in an instant. That's mine. Michael suddenly heard a childish voice and looked down to see a little girl raising her fist. Only then he saw Alicia, and although he didn't show any expression on his face, he was surprised to see Alicia. Let me guess, another heaven-defying genius friend of Noah. Michael sighed inside as the archer shouted at him again. Answer the question, did you kill him? Are you stupid? Of course I did, Michael mocked the archers. His answer, and the way he answered, pissed off the entire group as the archers released the arrows. However, even before the arrows could reach him, they saw him disappear from their sight. Every one of them froze in shock, and in a blink of an eye, they heard a sword-slashing sound, and the ones who stood beside the archers felt a hot splash of blood hit their faces. Pooh! Pooh! The pair of archers fell to the ground as their heads rolled off their bodies. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a body refining stage level 8 cultivator. The reward is 6,000 experience points and 800 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a body refining stage level 8 cultivator. The reward is 6,000 experience points and 800 badass points. The next moment, he returned to the place where he stood before killing the archers. You're dead meat. You dare to kill my Broad River sect brothers. You're finished. The man wielding the spear stopped in his tracks and glared at Michael in rage. Blood River sect. Holy shit, I'm lucky. I was searching for you guys. Chapter 113. Why was he searching for them? Everyone was thrown into a moment of confusion as they looked at each other. Indeed, nobody knew the meaning of his words. Only the man who was wielding the spear glared coldly at Michael and had a faint cold smile on his face. Searching for us? Well, you drew out attention in a most stupid way. The minute he spoke out, everyone paused to listen before they started to react. He killed Bowen. What are we waiting for? Damn it, that's our baby dragon. Catch him. Let's show him what would happen to those who mess with the Broad River. Die. In that instant, even without their leader to instruct them, the Broad River sect disciples rushed towards Michael with faces of evident rage. Stop! However, their steps were halted by Michael's voice, and although he spoke quietly, the arch energy made his voice sound loud. What? The spear-wielding man and the archers asked Michael, while Alicia looked at him curiously to see why he asked them to stop. Why did you scream die before attacking? All of them were stunned hearing Michael's question, including Alicia and Maisie. Initially, Alicia thought he's going to talk this out because she didn't think he could kill all of them by himself. As far as she was concerned, only Noah could kill them without anyone's help. The Broad River disciples and their lackeys stared at him for a few seconds before gritting their teeth in anger because they thought he was mocking them. Die! What did I just ask you? They screamed die again and surprised Michael as he sighed. Diddle diddle. Just like before, his body disappeared from their sight in a form of a flash of lightning. Who is he? Although he's a body refining stage level 10, he can't beat all of them. He seemed familiar meanwhile. Those who were watching the scene from the distance wondered. Some of them watched the scene with gaping mouths as Michael transformed into a bolt of lightning and charged straight towards the Broad River sect disciples fearlessly. We are, so. Little for a few seconds, Alicia and the others heard slashing sounds and saw the bolt of the lightning dash around the disciples before witnessing Michael return to his previous position. The spear-wielding man and the few others saw their friends stand in their running posture like statues, and before they could realize what just happened, their bodies fell apart from within. You whack! Shit! Ah! Looking at the organs and chunks of body parts, some of the onlookers threw up on the spot, while some looked pale. They didn't see Michael swing his sword, but they all now realized that he cut them like a piece of meat, and he was too fast to see his motions. Just one move was able to do this? He had killed 10 Broad River sect disciples in a few seconds, and they were all level 9, body refining stage cultivators. How? How is this possible? The remaining Broad River sect members were shocked as their mouths were opened wide in fear. The way they looked at Michael took a tremendous change. Their arrogant facial expressions gave way to that of fear, as though they were looking at a strange beast. Alicia was shaken as well. She gawked at him. Her mouth was slightly opened in surprise and shock. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a body refining stage level 9 cultivator. The reward is 7,000 experience points and 800 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a body refining stage level 9 cultivator. The reward is 7,000 experience points and 800 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a body refining stage level 9 cultivator. The reward is 7,000 experience points and 800 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a body refining stage level 9 cultivator. The reward is 7,000 experience points and 800 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for killing a body refining stage level 9 cultivator. The reward is 7,000 experience points and 800 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for killing a body refining stage level 9 cultivator. The reward is 7,000 experience points and 800 badass points. There were continuous beeps that echoed in his head, and they continued to ring without stopping for a couple of seconds. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 500 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 2,000 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 300 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 500 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 3,000 badass points. His unconsumed experience points reached almost 1 million points, which would let him break through to the body strengthening stage level 3 in one go. Also, his badass points were nearing the amount 40,000 after everyone, including Alicia and Maisie. Are you alright, baby dragon? He would have killed them all in one go, but he stopped using lightning dash, as the baby dragon was not very familiar with the feeling of being moving that fast. Its little face already seemed slightly green, and Michael feared that it would barf on him. Who? He already realized that the baby dragon could understand the human tongue, and after hearing his question, it tried to say something, but only the hoo-hoo sound came out of its mouth. What happened to your smug faces? Don't like being bullied? Looking at the Broad River disciples who had now lost their fighting courage, Michael snickered. Those who were watching the scene had looks of fear and surprise etched across their faces. They were standing still from shock and didn't move an inch. Diddle, with a devilish grin on his face, he stepped forward instead of using the lightning dash. With each step he took forward, the remaining group of Broad River sect cultivators took a step back unconsciously due to fear. Diddle, at the very last moment, the group of Broad River sect disciples regained their senses and started conjuring different spells in a bid to defend themselves, but were still scared stiff. We are so little, regardless of whatever spells or skills they cast, they couldn't touch Michael through his responsive shield. After their futile attempts to defend themselves were made apparent, they stared right at the silver sword as it descended down upon their faces. At the next moment, everything turned black as they bade farewell to this world. To the future Dark Lord, all these attempts to defend themselves were pointless. The onlookers stared at him wide-eyed, completely astonished and somewhat fearful. Why is he this powerful? Who the heck is he? He must be using some epic to defend himself from their attack. Also, did you see the spell he used before? I couldn't even see him. He mumbled something before attacking. That must have been the reason for his power. Alicia's face showed a gloomy expression looking at Maisie and the reason she came into the nether realm, the baby dragon. Now the chance of her getting the baby dragon seemed much less possible. Even Noah wouldn't fight him for the baby dragon because it didn't belong to Maisie, but she only found it first. She could see the baby dragon had already started to feel safe around him and thinking of him as its friend. Meanwhile, Michael was killing the rest of the Broad River sect happily as well. The system was repeatedly beeping in his mind, informing him of the rewards he had received. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 500 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 500 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 500 badass points. Plop. At the very end, Michael slapped the last one standing, the one who was wielding the spear. He then stood in the middle of the wreckage of dozens of bodies and grabbed the man by his neck and lifted him up. He then shouted out loudly, "What's your name?" The man struggled to breathe and barely managed to say his name. Ender, I need you to deliver this message to your sect master. Ghost of Sunrise sect asked him to come to Sunrise sect the next moment he hears this from you, or the next day. there won't be a Broad River sect, he threatened Sander and shocked everyone around him. In his mind, he had plans for this Broad River sect. Ghost. Sander hesitated for a moment as he searched his memories before realizing he had heard this name before. His eyes went wide and then slowly asked, "What's your feud with us? Seriously? Do you think I don't know your history of bullying my sect whenever you get the chance? The time of bullying my sect is over. From now on, it will be us who do the bullying." Michael chuckled while saying the latter part. Sander felt an ache in his chest as he nodded and wanted to escape with his head attached to his shoulder. Alicia and Maisie were trying to keep their mouths closed, but had weird expressions on their faces. Unlike Abel believed, after they heard what he just said, they realized that he's not any different than an arrogant young master. Alicia thought that even if the Broad River sect had bullied the Sunrise sect before, killing them brutally like this and threatening to end their sect didn't go well with her. "Now run along." He patted Sander on the cheek playfully and threw him away. Sander felt extremely relieved and didn't even take his spear from the ground as he ran as fast as he could from the sights of Michael. "Oh!" The baby looked happy to see him run away as it affectionately licked Michael's face. In Maisie's mind, the baby dragon was her, and seeing it play with Michael made her little face turn red in anger. And just as he was about to turn and leave, Maisie stepped forward and raised her voice at Michael. "Stop right there." Chapter 114. Michael was surprised at the little girl and turned to face her. She was nearly Cindy's age, but in his eyes, this little girl was nowhere near Cindy, as she seemed extremely arrogant and tyrannical. "It's mine." Even though there was no need to raise her voice to reach him, she shouted in a domineering way. For a moment, he stared at Alicia and hoped she would warn this little girl yet. Alicia did nothing. He kept staring at the little girl and didn't speak a word as she stepped forward and pointed her finger at the baby dragon. "That baby dragon belongs to me." Maisie Cooper, Alicia almost forgot how domineering this little girl could be. They didn't see this side of Maisie because when Noah was around, Maisie would behave like an obedient kitten. Alicia would have advised Maisie to back off, but she knew how much Maisie loved to have a dragon as her pet, and no matter what she would say, the little girl would not back off and let go of the baby dragon. Therefore, Alicia decided to back Maisie, and if push comes to shove, she would fight Ghost until Noah and Abel arrive. Oh, on the other side, Maisie saw him gently grab the baby dragon and search its body for something. Oh, the baby dragon giggled as it felt ticklish when he lifted its wings and examined its body. Maisie and Alicia frowned, watching him before he placed the baby dragon on his shoulder again, and looked at Maisie. "Nope, can't find your name on it." Many who assumed the entertainment was over now started to believe that the real entertainment has just begun. Many chuckled inside, hearing his answer, and Maisie's face turned redder in anger. He's really not putting the little girl in his eyes. The little girl is crazy. He just massacred a group in front of her eyes, and she still dared to raise her voice at him. She's either too stupid or belongs to a big power. Let's just wait and see, the onlookers murmured, looking at him and Maisie. "Give me my dragon before I make you. Do you think I'm afraid of you?" Maisie palmed her fist and looked like she was ready to fight for the baby dragon, which only made Michael chuckle. "You should be afraid of me if you think you can take the baby dragon from me." He didn't raise any killing intent or look cold, but said with a calm face, "Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 800 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 300 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. The system suggests the host challenge Maisie and get the Ring of Fire. He ignored the badass points notifications, but when he heard the last notification from the system, he momentarily opened the system and read it again to make sure he heard right. Ring of Fire? Is it a legendary class spell? His eyes glistened in excitement as he saw a blue description box appear in front of his eyes. Spell name, Ring of Fire effect. Creates a shockwave of flames and a ring of fire around the caster for a short amount of time. Upgradable. Upgradable through Mentor function current level. Rare, the spells from the system had no current level stat, and unlike the system bot spell, he wouldn't be able to unleash the maximum potential of the spell right out of the bat, but he had to pay badass points as well as practice or use the spell more often to unleash the spell's maximum potential. Although Michael preferred not to hurt a little girl like Maisie, it didn't mean that he wouldn't teach her a lesson and in the process get the ring of fire from her by exploiting her arrogance and her yearning for the baby dragon. "So you're ready to fight for the baby dragon?" Michael quickly asked before she says something wrong and crosses limit. "Yes." Alicia noticed a grin hiding behind Michael's face and frowned, thinking that he's planning something. "Since I don't like bullying little kids, I'll make you a deal. If you can make me even take a step back, I'll give you the dragon. But if you couldn't, you have to give me something as valuable as this baby dragon. Tell me, little girl, do you think you could do this in one move? Don't worry. I want move or fight back," by calling her a little girl. He flamed a fan of her arrogance. No one except body strengthening stage level 7 cultivators could touch him through the responsive shield. Maisie was only a body refining stage cultivator, so no matter how hard she tries or the level of spell she uses, she wouldn't be able to even move him an inch, let alone make him take a step back. Maisie gritted her teeth and tightened her fist, looking at the grin on his face. She wanted to knock his teeth out and prove him wrong by sending him flying back. "Maisie, don't hold back. Use your strongest attack." Alicia bent over to reach Maisie's ears and advised her. During the Phoenix auction fair, she saw the battle between him and a group of youngsters. It was not even a battle, but a one-sided massacre, and she knew about the light blue shield that protected him from their attacks. They couldn't even touch him through the shield, but Alicia knew Maisie wasn't like those youngsters. Maisie was blessed with the innate talent that makes her stronger than anyone in her cultivation stage. Although Alicia doubted Maisie's chance of winning the fight against Ghost, she believed that if Maisie used the Mystic Fist skill, Maisie could break the shield and make him take a step back. The Mystic Fist was a spell that let Maisie conjure a fist made of pure arch energy. And after Noah made some changes to the spell became stronger than it was. "I broke many faces of people who underestimated me. Your face will be the next on the list." Maisie puffed out her chest to show her courage and exclaimed proudly and in Michael's eyes, arrogantly. "This is a rare class spell. I'll place this as the bet. System. Is that the Ring of Fire spell?" Scanning. Yes. After hearing the confirmation from a system, he smiled and stroked the baby dragon's face while it showed a troubled expression on its face. The baby dragon worried that he might lose the bet and get it to the little girl, but the smile on Michael's face reassured the baby dragon. Alicia took the spell scroll from Maisie's hand and made her way to the middle to be the judge of this bet. Since Michael made sure that no one can take away the baby dragon from him by paying the system 5,000 badass points, he handed over the baby dragon to Alicia without fretting about her escape with his dragon. He almost felt bad for them because yesterday he killed their friend, and now he's going to take what the little girl desires the most, the baby dragon. Plus, he was going to take a rare spell scroll from her, like taking candy from a baby. "Hoo!" The baby dragon reached out its claws and cried while he was handing it out to Alicia. "Get tough, baby dragon. ITL'll be over in a moment." Michael patted the baby dragon in the head and said. The onlookers were surprised to see the baby dragon stop crying after hearing Michael's words. "He's so lucky. Why didn't I get a baby dragon? What a majestic creature. One of them is going to have a fully grown dragon as their pet in the future. I can't even imagine it. Be glad that you didn't get a dragon. The one who's going to end up with the dragon is in for a ride when rogue cultivators and adventurers hear about the baby dragon. If you ask me, neither of them can protect the baby dragon and raise it as their own. Many powerful families and sects will try to get their hands on it." Michael heard these conversations going around him and agreed with some of them, but he didn't worry about someone stealing his dragon, because if anyone tried to harm the baby dragon, the system would raise an alarm and teleport the baby dragon to either Abyssal or S special storage unit of the system. Of course, he had to pay 5,000 badass points per 6 months to keep this function activated, yet compared to the baby dragon, 5,000 badass points were not too much. You can't fight back, and if you take even one step back, the baby dragon will go to her. If not, the baby dragon, and this spell scroll belongs to you. Do you agree? Alicia coldly asked Michael as he nodded, and then she looked at Maisie to see her give a small nod. Remember, she has one move, Michael calmly said, and Alicia could only nod and hope that the mystic fist would let Maisie win the baby dragon. Let's see what he got, little girl. Chapter 115. Because of the drama and curiosity, many people stepped closer and curled Michael and Maisie. Michael was happy to see the crowd around him and expected to receive at least 2,000 badass points by impressing these crowds. On the opposite side to Michael, Maisie let out a cold snort and closed her eyes to conjure the arch energy to use her strongest attack, the Mystic Fist. Although Alicia advised her to use the Mystic Fist, the main reason for her to go with Mystic Fist was she wanted to humiliate Ghost, who was said to be on the same stage as Noah. She wanted to prove Abel and everyone wrong by defeating Ghost, and in her mind, she really believed that she could win this bet and defeat him. Ever since she started cultivating, she never lost a battle. Just a few seconds after she closed her eyes, the onlookers felt the ground slightly trembling and heard an unearthly humming in the air. Soon, their jaws dropped and their eyes went wide as they could in shock, looking and feeling the pure arch energy that's being gathered around Maisie. Alicia was not an exception to this, as she also seemed amazed by the spell. Holy shit, is that an epic class spell? Yes, it is. I heard only someone from the Cooper bloodline can use this spell. Can he really withstand this attack? He did say he won't move or fight back. This spell seems like it could kill even a body-strengthening cultivator. Look, the fist is taking shape. Michael calmly watched a huge fist made out of nothing but glistening silvery arch energy appear above Maisie's head. The fist was tall as a coconut tree and as wide as a couple of buses lined up, and it grew bigger by the seconds. However, there was no fear in Michael's eyes, but excitement, because the more powerful and fancy the attack, the more badass points he would get after defending himself in the attack. Also, he was laughing out loud inside, looking at Maisie and Alicia's face, because, unlike their expectation, the fist wouldn't be even able to touch him, let alone sending him flying back. Oh! The baby dragon, however, sensed the overwhelming power of the fist and cried, and tried to claw its way out of Alicia's hands to Michael. Looking at his scaly fried, being terrified by the spell, Michael turned and winked at the baby dragon to reassure it. The baby dragon seemed to have calmed down a bit as the fist reached its full power. The fist now looked gigantic, and it almost reached the size of a 3-story building. The Mystic Fist was only able to reach this potential because of Noah, who did some changes to the spell and unlocked its full potential. Of course, the downside of these changes was the time it takes to cast the spell. Since Michael said he won't fight back and gave her the time, Maisie didn't worry about the casting time. The very next moment, the little girl opened her eyes and looked extremely domineering in many eyes. Alicia stepped back a few meters in case the aftershock was too powerful and pushed her away. Let's step back away. Many people thought the same and rushed back away from Michael and Maisie while not taking their gazes away from them. Are you finished? I have places to be. Maisie's body shivered in anger, seeing the calm and careless look on his face. Why is he so calm? If he's acting like he's cool, he's the damn best actor I've seen. I don't think he's acting. Shut up and watch. If I cannot wipe that smile off your smile, my name is not Maisie Cooper. She shouted as loud as she could and sent the fist soaring towards Michael. The gigantic fist let out an ear-piercing howling sound. Everyone's eyes, gazes were changing between Michael and the fist. Many watched the fist approaching Michael while biting their nails in anticipation. 50 meters, 40 meters, 30 meters, 10 meters. Michael's raven black hair and his long coat fluttered back in the wind, and even when he stood just 10 meters away from the fist, people noticed no fear or alarm in his eyes. 7 meters, 2 meters, boom. They saw the fist strike him and create a small dust storm in the place where he stood. Some of the people who stood relatively closer to Michael flung back due to the aftershock, and the rest of them may have kept the distance but still felt the force of the aftershock. Many, including Alicia, were forced to take a few steps back. People saw Maisie stand a few meters back from where she stood initially and turned their gazes at the dust storm. What? Alicia's voice was quiet, but Maisie and some of them could hear her. A few seconds after, the dust storm settled and revealed Michael, and only then they realized the reason for Alicia's shout. Maisie, Alicia, and every single one of them who witnessed the clash stood still in utter shock, because there stood Michael. Neither did he have a scratch on his body, nor moved an inch from where he was before the attack. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 800 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 300 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 1,000 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 600 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. He expected 2,000 badass points, but he got double the amount than he initially thought. He thanked Maisie and Alicia for this wonderful opportunity. That was it. Humph! He snickered, and his gaze was full of content and ridicule, which shook Maisie's pride and self-confidence. How what? Maisie couldn't help but mumble under her breath in utter shock. Not in a million years she thought he would stand still, taking the mystic fist head-on. What shocked her more was Noah's words as he said no one in the same cultivation stage as she would survive the fist. But not only she was unable to kill him, she couldn't even make him take a step back. Arrogance has to be earned, and if something needs changing dash, he didn't complete his sentence, but raised his hand as the scroll and the baby dragon came flying into his hands. The baby dragon's eyes were filled with joy, and it quickly clawed its way to his shoulder from his hand and wrapped its tail around his neck to sit comfortably on his shoulder. Usually, Maisie would have a snarky comeback for everything, but now, no words came out of her little mouth because of the shame and shock. His words flamed the fans of her humiliation. It's your attitude. After the onlookers digested the fact that he actually survived the mystic fist, they looked at him with utmost admiration and respect. Don't think too highly of yourself because you reached this level at a young age and have an epic class spell. I could have killed you 100 times before you finished casting that spell of yours. Michael continued to roast her, and her face turned redder and redder. For the first time in her life, Alicia felt afraid of someone. After seeing him survive the mystic fist without a scratch, she realized that he was right. He could have indeed killed Maisie if he wanted to. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 400 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 300 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. At this moment, she doubted even Noah could defeat him. Now she finally understood why Peyton and Zanali wanted to recruit him first. Amidst the shocked gazes, Michael gave a last glance at Maisie before turning himself into a lightning bolt and disappearing from their sight. Even after he left the place, no one was able to close their mouth. Right this moment, none looked at Maisie as a young genius, but a loud-mouthed brat. Michael did not know that he attracted many eyes and spread his legend across all the kingdoms in the Elon continent. Without Noah knowing, Michael killed one of his closest friends and destroyed the self-confidence of Maisie, the girl he thought of as his little sister. In just 2 days after coming to the Nether Realm, he gained a lot more than everyone else. First, he obtained most of the herbs in the Sky Garden, and then he gained a contract to supply pills and potions to Aragoth, and now he got what he wanted the most ever since he came to this world, a dragon. Besides, he gained a new underling, but who knows what the orc hides beneath his ugly face. While Michael was celebrating his gains, his old enemy has begun the plot to destroy him and everything he built once and for all. Obviously, this old enemy was Jane, and she had no idea that there's someone just as bad as Ghost is waiting to mess up her revenge plans. Now that we had enough badassery of Michael, the Lord of Darkness, it's time to witness the Queen of Darkness in action. Chapter 116, Sister Elia. Sister Elia. Inside Michael's home in the Sunrise sect, Gaia was cultivating until she heard Jack calling her out. She sensed panic in Jack's voice as she stood up and walked towards the door. It's been 5 days since Michael left, as time flows differently in the outside world than the Netherrealm. For the last 5 days, she was busy as a bee. She spent half of her day in Majestic and half of the day overseeing the construction of their new high-end restaurant, as well as the renovation of the Sunrise sect. Because of the works, she didn't even talk to Michael through the earpiece, but fully focused on the work at hand. Today was supposed to be her holiday, and planned to spend the day cultivating. This little shit better has a valid reason. She cursed him under her breath and opened the door to see Jack outside the door with 5 finger marks on his right cheek. On the corner of his mouth, there was a red smudge. All of his clothes were stained with mud and dust, and there were even some scratches on his hands. He seemed like he went skating on the ground with his body. Sister Elia, seeing Gaia, Jack felt relieved. Despite her cultivation, Jack thought of her as someone he could rely on or ask for help. What happened? She knew the red smudge was blood, and also she didn't fail to notice his legs shiver. Sister Elia, some adventurers stopped the renovation work, and they are asking for more gold coins. I tried to negotiate with them, but did they do this to you? She interrupted him before he finishes his sentence, as Jack nodded his head. I'm going to beat the crap out of them for attacking my minion. Come. She tied her raven black hair into a ponytail and rushed towards the student quarters, because that's the place they were renovating. Sister Elia, those adventurers have a body-strengthening level 8 cultivator with them. We should go and get the Baron's men. While the sect is being renovated, Claire and the elders went to capital to meet the king of Bredia and settle their debts. Daniel and Ricky were working with the dwarven engineer to build the restaurant according to Michael's plan. That left the sect with Elia, and she appointed Jack as her minion and gave him the job to oversee the renovation while she's away. Shut the fuck up and follow me. Plop. She slapped the back of his head hard and continued to walk. After he was slapped and thrown away from the student quarters by those adventurers, his first instinct was to run to Ghost's home and call Sister Elia. He didn't think anything about her cultivation or how weak she is compared to a body-strengthening cultivator. For Jack, Ghost was the highest existence in his world, as he basically worshipped him in his mind. Because of Ghost, he had tremendous respect towards Elia, even though she would beat him regularly whenever she gets the chance. However, he never got mad at Elia after a while, because he knew she might be the only person who would fight for him and protect him like a big sister. He ran behind her like a little kid and hoped that she has a way to resolve this conflict with the adventurers. A few minutes after, Gaia and Jack came to the renovation site. No one can work until someone pays us what they owe us. The disciples and the workers stopped what they were doing and kept their distance from a group of adventurers who just beat Jack. All the adventurers in the group were a body-strengthening stage level 3 cultivator, except the one who was shouting orders at the workers. He was a body-strengthening stage level 8 cultivator. In Gaia's eyes, they all had one thing in common. They didn't seem like they came to do construction and renovation work, as they were strong enough to get more paying quests. Their armor alone was worth at least 100 gold coins apiece, and they certainly did not need to work for 20 silver a day. Who hit you? Asked Gaia. Sister Elia. Sister Elia is here. Sister Elia? Many disciples shouted the name Elia when they saw her. The adventurers, however, just snickered looking at her cultivation level, except for the strongest adventurer who looked Gaia with eyes filled with lust. Many girls who saw him staring at Gaia made them feel nauseated, and they prepared themselves to fight the adventurers if they dared to touch Elia. After Ghost joined their sect, the reputation of the Sunrise sect took a turn, and many who bullied them for fun now wouldn't even dare to look at them in a wrong way. Only because of him that they were able to settle their debts and receive the needed resources to cultivate with no hindrance. Therefore, how could they let Ghost's girlfriend be violated by these adventurers? It was me, pretty girl, a middle-aged man who was thin as a stick, made his way towards Gaia with a wicked grin on his face. Plop. Ah. The middle-aged man halted his steps when he saw Gaia suddenly slap Jack. Did you really let this walking stick slap you? Look at him. Everyone was stunned by the words coming out of Elia, especially the thin man. He didn't think he would be mocked by a body-refining stage girl. A gust of wind could have killed this fucker, you. How did you even climb the stairs against the wind? Ah, Gaia couldn't keep a serious face as she burst into laughter. Sister Elia, Jack tried to stop her from antagonizing the man any further as he already looked pissed off. Your mom was also so thin, as she said, laughing. She ate a meatball and thought she's pregnant. Gaia began to abuse the man's family and continued, but it turned out she was really pregnant. Pregnant with you, haha. Her joke might have been a bad one, but the man's reaction made even his friends chuckle for a moment. How dare you? Who? However, when he stepped forward at Gaia, raising his fist, she let out a blow of wind, and shockingly, the wind came out of her mouth really did send him flinging away like a kite without an anchor in a storm. The scene stunned everyone as they watched the man disappear with their mouths wide open. She only looked like a body refining stage cultivator, but in reality, she was a core formation level 7 cultivator. For her, killing a body strengthening stage level 3 cultivator as easy as stepping on an ant. Was that me or the wind? She looked at the sky and said while the rest of the adventurers stared at her speechlessly. Sister Elia, you. Gaia ignored Jack and looked at the leader. I heard you want more gold coins. Hey, raise my counter offer. Pay my minion's healing cost. Apologize to him and run away as fast as you can. There was no smile on her face as she said seriously. Healing cost? How much would that be? The leader, who was a bulky old man with a white beard, asked. 9,000 gold coins plus 2,000 for the psychological pain my minion experienced because of you. Is Sister Elia serious? Did you do that? How'd she do that? Am I seeing it wrong, or is she just a body refining stage cultivator? I bet Brother Ghost gave something to her, making her this powerful. I think so too, or how could have she done that? Do you think she can kill him too? I don't know that, but if they hurt her, Brother Ghost will tear them to pieces. He's not here. Let's hope Sister Elia can beat their ass. The disciples already began to chatter, while the adventurers had weird looks on their faces after hearing Gaia's words. They did not know whether she's joking with them or not, but they knew that she's not normal. Are you hit on the head, girl? I don't know what you used to do what you did, but no buts. You either do what I told you or die. Gaia interrupted the leader with her words, and seeing the careless look on her face, the leader glanced at the man on his side as he stepped forward to take care of Gaia. Jack, keep an eye on that guy. I have a feeling that this is now what it seems to be. While the man was on his way towards Gaia, she ordered Jack and rolled her sleeves upwards. After looking at the confidence in her eyes, Jack felt powered. He gave a quick nod and started to watch the leader as she said, I need to torture your leader, so I suggest you all 6 to come at me together. I don't like my time being wasted. The more everyone heard her words, the more they became surprised and shocked. If anyone else was in this situation, they would be afraid, but in her eyes, there was no fear at all. Bring me all the teeth on her mouth. The leader had enough of her. He never expected a body refining stage cultivator like her would mock them to this extent without showing any signs of distress. Good way to torture someone. They'll pull your teeth one by one. Just wait a few seconds. Chapter 117. Gaia spoke with a voice like a great bell while portraying an incredibly imposing manner. The disciples heard her words, and they couldn't help but feel goosebumps all over them. Since Gaia seemed like she has a way to kill them all, they trusted Gaia instead of doubting her. You're just a small body refining warrior. You haven't even reached level 8, yet you dare threaten me and kill one of my men? You're simply courting death. 3 of you, go beat the crap out of these disciples. They'll handle her. The leader let out a cruel snort. While giving orders to the others, he stared at Gaia with a bloodthirsty look. Once he finished speaking, he stuck his tongue out of his mouth and licked lips. Understood. The other 3 dashed towards the disciples at the same time. They were fast, but Gaia was faster. With no warning, Gaia blocked the way in front of an adventurer. Then she smashed his skull with just a single palm strike. Holy, The disciples and the workers who just saw this scene were terrified beyond words. They never thought a body refining stage cultivator like her could kill a body strengthening stage cultivator simply like this. She just slapped him, but his head exploded like an overfilled balloon. After brutally and quickly killing the first person, Gaia didn't slow down as she punched the second one through his chest. A hot splash of blood spread across many disciples' faces, and Jack saw Gaia's hand sticking out of the man's back with a still beating heart in her hand. "What?" the leader shouted out in disbelief. He could finally react and halted his steps. He just stood still like a statue, speechlessly. He never expected that this young girl whom he looked down upon could have such a ferocious approach and kill two of his men in an instant, making their adventuring party suffer a great loss. "You're gonna die." The leader became furious. He quickly retrieved his mace and raised the mace high up into the air. Then he forcefully threw it towards Gaia. With this action, he tried to save the third man's life before she could brutally kill him. However, she grabbed the man by his neck and threw him towards the mace, which was still soaring through the air. Plop! Blood and pieces of flesh flew off in all directions. The mace produced a buzzing sound after it collided with the man's body. Because of the force of Gaia's throw and the power of the mace split open the man's head in the midair. The terrified expression on everyone's face became thicker. None of these adventurers was Gaia's match. Although the leader was much stronger than the men she just killed, compared to her, he was still feeble as a baby. When she killed these men, in the nether realm, Michael received the notifications and tried to contact her through the earpiece, but she put the earpiece in her space ring while she was cultivating and didn't put it back on. Among his party, 3 were instantly killed by Gaia, and 1 was sent into the sky. They were hired to cause problems for Ghost while he was away and hurt his girlfriend, as well as a few of the disciples in the process. But right at this moment, he realized that he stepped into the wrong place and met a devil in the form of this girl. Sister Elia rocks. Hail, Sister Elia. Looking at the terrified faces of the remaining adventurers, some of the male disciples cheered after Jack. The leader let out an angry roar. Then he unleashed his full power and slashed his mace at Gaia as she punched the mace, covering her fist with arch energy. Bam! The mace and the fist clashed with each other. The center of collision exploded, and surprisingly, there appeared cracks on the mace. The leader was sent dozens of meters away from the impact while coughing blood out from his mouth. Oof. Can't even withstand a single fucking punch. She let out a cold snort. Then she turned her attention at the remaining adventurers before they could escape and dashed at them with a wide, evil grin on her face. The grin on her face not only terrified the disciples, but also sent a cold chill running the adventurers' spines. The adventurers intended to escape, but before even they could take a step, she appeared before them and started crazily attacking them. Bam, bam, bam. With every strike, a loud explosion-like sound would follow. The adventurers tried blocking the attacks with shields in their hands, but under Gaia's lightning-fast attacks, they could only defend for a few seconds before she broke shields and bones. She could have simply killed them 1 punch to each adventurer, but she beat them to induce the fear of God in the leader's heart, so he would break easily when she starts investigating him. Besides, this was her first battle after a long time. Therefore, she didn't intend to end the fight so soon. If Michael was here, he would be surprised at the way she moves and fights and think of her, because she fought like the female version of Bruce Lee and Ip Man mixed together. With each one of her strikes, one adventurer would spit out a mouthful of blood and drop to the ground, losing their consciousness in fear and pain. Damn it! Who is this abnormal monster, and why is she so strong? The leader couldn't help but curse. Today, he had personally decided to attack, and he had also brought many experienced body-strengthening stage warriors with him. In his mind, with his strong force, he would be able to kill not only the ghost, but everyone in this sect. Yet, he had never expected he would suffer such great losses. Dead already, Sai. Weak as he would choose what quest. Catch goblins? Looking at the adventurers on the ground, laying in their own pool of blood, she sighed and asked the dead ones with a disappointed face. Right at this moment, there was nothing but fear in the leader's eyes. Deep down, he wanted to tear the old man who gave this quest into pieces. At first, he took this quest to cause problems for Ghost and his sect because it was great pay for an easy job such as this. But now he wanted to go back in time if he could and change his decision. Not good. Looking at the grin on her face, the leader's legs trembled in fear. He could sense a great amount of danger from her right now. He immediately conjured all the arch energy in his body and tried to escape, but Gaia was way too fast. It was so fast that the leader couldn't escape at all. He could only move with instincts and raise the mace to attack. Just like before, Gaia didn't use any fancy spells but punched the mace with her raw strength. Clang! The mace in the leader's hand couldn't withstand such a heavy blow. It was finally broken in half. After that, the leader let out a horrifying cry and fainted on the spot. "I'll deal with you later," she said, looking at the unconscious leader, and turned her gaze towards Jack. "You little shit. Strip all the valuables from the bodies." Jack couldn't help but be terrified at Elia after witnessing the massacre that happened in front of him. It took a few seconds for him to react to her order, and he walked towards the bodies as fast as he could to do as she said. The other disciples and workers were shocked to see her order loot the bodies, but they were too afraid to open their mouth against her. Under Gaia's cruel slaughter, except the leader, all the adventurers in his group lost their lives. The area of the student quarters was filled with corpses and reeked fresh blood. After a few minutes, one girl who knew that Gaia loved attention and devotion from others started cheering from the crowd. "Mighty Sister Elia! Mighty Sister Elia!" Soon, every single one of the disciples was cheering together. Slowly the fear in their eyes faded away and glowed as they stared at Gaia. Hearing the cheers, she stepped on the leader and looked like a goddess of war who had just descended from the skies in many disciples' eyes. Gaia's brutal approaches, her imposing image, had all been deeply carved into the hearts of every single disciples and workers who witnessed the scene. Right now, her heroic image had become bigger and bigger in their minds. The battle tonight was an eye-opener for every disciple. All of them had realized why Ghost is keeping her with him all the time. A group of body-strengthening adventurers were all killed in just a few minutes by a body-refining stage girl. Such an incredible outcome wasn't possible even in the dreams of the people. Gaia waved his hand, then the cheering immediately quieted down. All of them looked at Gaia, awaiting her next command. This will be the outcome for those who dare to mess with us. Chapter 118. A few hours after the events of the Sunrise Sect, nightfall illuminated by the rise of stars, so at Baron Totonk's manor in the black. Frost grew over the windows, even as the duvet kept the girl in the room warm. The girl wore a silky nightgown and watched the ice crystals grow for a while, allowing her brain to be empty. The morning would bring the beauty of the ice for sure, that crunch under the boot and the bold greeting cold air brings. Yet between now and watching her breaths rise as new white puff clouds, she knew that the night is going to be a cold one. Knock, knock, knock. While the girl was looking at the distant sky through the window, someone knocked on the door softly. "Come in." The door opened with a low creaking voice, and then through the door came an old man who had his face covered with a dark hood. "Miss Totonk, it seems there was a small hindrance to our plan," the old man said as Jane turned her gaze away from the distant sky to him. But Howard handled the situation and brought the girl here. The seriousness and the anger within her eyes disappeared. Her mouth curved upwards to reveal a small smile. Jane was prepared to punish the old man if he failed his task. She already had hatred towards Ghost simply because Selena hated him, and she would hate anyone that Selena hates. Her mother passed away when she was just born, and although Selena was just her cousin, Selena raised her like a little sister, and for Jane, she was like a mother. Therefore, when she heard Selena's complaints about a guy who tried to perv on her at the waterfalls, Selena wanted to tear the guy into pieces. Like pouring petrol into the fire, her anger burned hotter after she heard what happened in Heaven's Gate competition. By stepping onto the 100th step and standing beside Selena and Jack despite their strict order against it, Ghost disrespected Selena. That was why when she heard Ghost came to Bradford through her spies, she immediately went to the green heaven and picked a fight with him. She thought her bodyguards could kick the crap out of him, but instead, he almost killed her bodyguards. What made her more furious was that when she told her father and asked him to punish Ghost, he sided with Ghost, saying that it was her fault. Ever since she was born, he never raised his voice at her, but because of Ghost, he chewed her out and made her cry her eyes out. From that day, she was plotting her revenge on Ghost, and when she heard he's going into the Nether Realm, she put her plans of messing with his plans in motion. At first, she sent a couple of goons pretending to be customers to the Majestic to destroy the reputation of his new business. Then, she hired a group of bandits and ordered them to target Ghost customers. As her next plan, she asked the old man who is her new bodyguard to hire a group of adventurers to harass the disciples and stop their renovation. Of course, by harassing, she meant breaking their bones just like Ghost did to her previous bodyguards, as well as kidnap his girlfriend. Jane was planning to either sell her in the slave market or simply kill her and blame Brady's devil, Lucifer. Many of her father's men were put into the night guard because of this Lucifer, who's brutally killing the criminals and crooks and leaving a horrific scene of crime behind. Baron Totonk had already sent people to the Church of the Two asking the priests and the holy guards to come to Bredia. The people were scared silly, and Jane was prohibited to leave the manor in the night. Baron Totonk tried to protect the little devil from the real devil, but he had no idea that she was trying to get the attention of the devil all along. "Ha ha! Good work, old man. Where's that bitch?" The old man was really surprised by Jane. When he first met her, he thought she's just a rich, spoiled brat, but after spending time with her, he realized that there is something ugly and rotten beneath her beautiful face. As her bodyguard, the old man advised her to drop her revenge against Ghost because her reasoning seemed silly. After all, he didn't live this long by holding grudges and plotting revenge against a mysterious prodigy like Ghost. The old man and her father and Selena herself told her to drop the matter between her and Ghost, but Jane was stubborn as a mule. "I put her into one of the secret prisons, and Howard is keeping an eye on her. Howard is keeping an eye on that bitch. What happened to his men?" "About that." Jane frowned, looking at the old man, dragging his words out. "What? You can explain it on the way." She quickly changed her mind as she wanted to meet Ghost's girlfriend as soon as possible. The old man nodded and followed her behind towards the secret prisons, which were built under the manor. On their way to the secret prisons, the old man explained what happened at the Sunrise Sect and how Howard got captured by the girl, as well as how he escaped capturing the girl. Jane was stunned by the old man's words, and the curiosity of meeting the girl rose to the peak in her mind. Since it was nighttime and the way to the secret prison was restricted to servants and many low-level guards, they met fewer guards on their way. The underground prison was small. Baron Totonk didn't like to keep many prisons under here very much. Most criminals would face trial after a few days and either be released or sentenced to the main prison on the ground. In addition to the old man, Jane's other guards, who were also the old man's team, joined them and entered the prison. The prison had a total of 3 levels, and the walls were built out of hard granite blocks. Although Jane was the daughter of the Baron, this was her first time coming here, and she noted the deeper she got, the narrower the hallway became. "Why is this place so wet and muddy?" Jane frowned and twitched her nose as the ground was wet, and the muddy sewage was flowing down the stairs, down to the last floor. Howard and the prisoner were at the bottom of the prison. Each layer they went down, the stench in the air became thicker. "Miss Totonk, please be careful dealing with that girl. We still don't know the full extent of her abilities and strength." It was a man following Jane who had spoken. "You mean to say that the 6 of you, core formation level 4 warriors, couldn't handle a body refining stage girl?" Jane challenged. "No, Miss Totonk, I mean," the man stammered. After hearing her reply, the old man turned his head and signaled everyone not to speak a word, as he knew she wouldn't listen to them. This floor was many times smaller than the one above, with a total of only 3 to 4 cells. The warden lit the torches on the walls, and, as the darkness faded, Jane saw a girl sitting on a chair in the middle of the room with Howard standing behind her. The girl had her head covered with a black sack, and Howard's light blue armor almost turned red by his own blood. The temperature in the dungeon was low enough to make people see white fog when they breathe out. The old man's group circled Jane, while the old man himself stood by the girl on the chair's side in case she tried anything that would harm Jane. His first priority was protecting Jane, and he wanted to do that to the best of his ability. Yet because of Jane's stubbornness, his job became more complicated and difficult. "She did that to you?" "Humph." Jane snickered, looking at Howard. In the light of the torches, she saw his legs trembling and couldn't help but look down on him. Howard, on the other hand, only just a few minutes ago realized that he was hired by the Baron's daughter through the old man. He wondered what Jane was planning to do with the girl. "Yes," Howard answered meekly, and everyone except the old man was stunned, because he was a body-straightening cultivator while the girl was only at the body-refining stage. Since they were not there with Howard to see how she massacred his party, they had a hard time believing him. Of course, he would happily agree to kill this girl, as she killed all of his adventuring party and tortured him till he wet his pants, but although the girl was tied to the chair, as well as iron shackles were around her hands and legs, she wasn't a prisoner as they were thinking. "She's not our prisoner. We are hers," Howard thought to himself, while struggling to stop his body from shivering, not in cold but in overwhelming fear. Looking at Jane and the guards behind her who were staring at him cluelessly, Howard could only feel pity for them. At this moment, they did not know that they just brought the devil into their household and served themselves on a silver platter. Chapter 119. "Where's your ghost now, bitch?" Thud, thud, thud. Jane asked angrily and started punching Gaia violently like a crazy animal. Howard stepped back from Jane and Gaia, thinking what's going to happen to Jane. Mississippi. While Jane was punching Gaia, the old man noticed the girl in the chair isn't moving as she's supposed to. He frowned and tried to stop Jane. "What?" Jane turned her cold eyes at the old man, and before the old man could say anything, she looked at Howard. "You, remove the sack. I want to see the look on her face while I break every single bone in her body." Yet even after hearing Jane's order, Howard stood still in the corner, shivering to go towards Gaia. "Didn't you hear what I said?" Instead of walking forward towards Gaia, Howard stepped back further into the dark corner of the room. Everyone, including the old man, was stunned to see Howard cover in fear like this. The suspicion in the old man's heart got bigger as he himself went to remove the sack from the girl's head. Boom! However, the moment he touched the sack covering her head, a blast of force sent everyone in the room flying. One by one, they hit the wall, and the force of their collision made the old room tremble. The force blast also put down all the torches except one, which didn't burn as bright as before, but let out a small shimmer of light. While they were struggling to stand up, Howard saw the chair with the girl floating in midair. "Oh my God!" Like a scared little kid, Howard curled onto the corner in fear. "Ha ha ha ha!" Suddenly, a burst of evil laughter filled the room, and the very next moment, the small shimmer of light coming from the torch disappeared, making the room pitch black. "What's happening?" Leave me alone. Don't kill me, NOLO." The old man himself began to feel afraid and heard some of his colleagues scream. He was a devotee of the peace god. He tried to fight the fear with the mantra he learned from the temple. Slowly, while chanting the mantra in his heart, he looked through the darkness to see a pair of red eyes staring at him. Right at that moment, he felt like his soul itself getting pierced by those red eyes and screamed in terror. The old man lost all his will to fight the fear and gave up to the fear, just like his colleagues. The very next moment, he noticed a puff of green, glistening smoke traveling towards him, and in that glistening, he saw a figure standing in the darkness. Ghchnnssn, staring at the skinless face, he failed to respond to the puff of green smoke and inhaled it. Covering in the corner of the room, Howard heard a muffled groaning. For the next couple of minutes, he could hear groans like this and the sound of blood splattering. He wanted to escape the dark room, but he couldn't even move an inch as his legs refused to move in overwhelming fear. Puff! Suddenly something lit one of the torches. Ah! He heard a scream of a girl, yet the voice didn't belong to the girl he brought, but it was Jane's. The golden-orange light radiating from the torch revealed the blood-stained walls and pools of blood on the ground. Jane was not a weak-hearted girl, but the fear toxin she just inhaled made her lose all her courage and strength. Coupled with the terrifying figure standing in front of her and the dead bodies around her, she screamed as loud as she could in fear. She tried to take her gaze away from the figure staring at her and saw the cold, dead eyes of her bodyguards. Their eyes and mouths were still open, and one could see the fear in their eyes they felt before leaving this world. They were butchered like cattle even before they could defend themselves. After collecting herbs from a sky garden, Michael enhanced the effectiveness of the fear toxin by using some of those rare herbs. Because of the linked space ring, Michael was able to give the fear toxin to Gaia. Gaia never expected the fear toxin to be this effective, as it scared these core formation cultivators to the point where they just lost their minds. Except for the old man, none could fight the fear toxin, and she simply butchered them to end their misery. She slowly walked towards Jane without uttering a word. Jane was still screaming, but she made sure that no matter how loud she screams, no one would hear her cry. When she tortured Howard by pulling a couple of his teeth out, he confessed all about how he met the old man and what he was hired to do. It was Michael who told her to go meet the old man as a hostage. Both Gaia and Michael had an idea that Jane might be behind the recent quarrels and bandit problem near the Sunrise sect. They also knew that if Jane was indeed behind this, she would make sure that the Baron doesn't know about anything because he strictly ordered her to stay out of Ghost's way. Just like they planned, the old man used a secret tunnel to transport Howard and Jane into the underground prisons without alerting the Baron. Instead of go looking for Jane, they made sure Jane herself came to them. For the outside world, Howard and his group were killed by Gaia because they tried to extort more coins and harass the sect. No one would know what was his real motive or who hired as the old man did everything related to the Sunrise sect very discreetly according to Jane's order. Pulch! Without even turning her back, Gaia kicked one of the swords on the ground and sent it straight through Howard's head. After killing Howard, she had erased all the evidence that could trace back to her and Michael. Now the only thing that remained her to do was kill Jane and end this feud. But before killing Jane, she wanted Jane to be sane or at least less affected by the fear toxin. Therefore, she stopped radiating the fear toxin from her suit of armor. A stupid bitch like you shouldn't have tried to mess with us. The voice modulator the system placed in her suit of armor transformed her voice to sound freaky and inhuman. Gaia grabbed Jane by her neck and lifted her up. Who? What? Jane tried to speak, but Gaia tightened the grab around Jane's throat. No, the time for you to speak is over. The moment you try to mess with my human, you sealed your fate, crack. The very next moment, Gaia snapped Jane's hand into two like a stick. Ah! Ah! Jane screamed in agony, but Gaia laughed looking at her pain. She knew that Jane would have done the same if she was weak and helpless. Thinking about how she beat her violently just a few moments ago, Gaia had no regret of torturing Jane. If you want to blame someone, blame the god who put the brain in your ass and shit in your head, Lee. Nah, despite the pain and fear, Jane let out the name of her cousin. Don't worry, that bitch is on our list. There was a sudden terror emerged in Jane's eyes which showed the love and bond between her and Selena, because even in a situation like this, Jane worried and cared for Selena. Deep down in her heart, she hoped that Selena would come out of nowhere and save her from this girl. She wanted Selena to be her white knight in armor, but she did know that even if she appeared to the prison magically, she couldn't save her from Gaia, who was a core formation level 8 warrior. At this stage, even Michael would have a hard time defeating Gaia without getting the help of the system. She was a true genius who traveled many places and trained herself through many life and death battles, not a prodigy who would only fight in a tournament. Crack! She broke Jane's other arm as Jane started to lose her consciousness due to the pain and the blood loss. Human, suddenly Gaia heard Michael's voice in her ears and nodded. She then took out the earpiece from her ear and placed it near Jane's ear. Playtime's over, bitch. The very next moment after Jane heard these words, everything around her became dark. Gaia retrieved the dagger from Jane's head and threw her body aside. With a wave of her hand, a bright beam of light appeared out of her space ring and disappeared along with all the dead bodies. Michael ordered her to place the bodies somewhere public. He wanted the name Lucifer to be something like Voldemort, a name to be afraid of. People like Jane and cultivators should shudder in fear at the mere mention of Lucifer. First, he wanted to clean and get rid of all the righteous hypocrites and criminals like rapists, mass innocent murders like the blood and bones sect from this world. How could he let scum like these be in his world? He was not planning to rule a world that is infested with criminals and such. To do that, he had to spread fear and cleanse this world, starting from Breedia. By killing Jane and showing their bodies to the public, he had taken a big step in the path of becoming the Dark Lord that the Guardians are so afraid of. Chapter 1:20 The very next day, Gaia killed Jane. She acted as nothing had happened and resumed her normal schedule. Like first thing in the morning, she filled her stomach with all the delicacies that Raylene cooked for her. After Michael turned her into a 5-star chef, Gaia made Raylene cook everything she likes and devoured everything in a couple of minutes. With her belly full, she would oversee the renovation of the sect. She ordered to tear down the entire quarters of the elders in Clare and build it from the ground up. Previously, the elders stayed in a single big mansion, but now she ordered the workers to build each elder a mansion in the country manor style. At the moment, they had almost finished 3 houses and were putting a foundation for the rest of them, including Claire's. She selected pure white paint for the walls and royal blue for the roofs. There were also flower beds and lush green lawns in front of these mansions in Gaia's mind, but first, she wanted these mansions to be built. Also unlike before, she planned to build a separate building that would act as the main office. Since the Sunrise sect didn't lack land, only the time and resources like the workforce slowed her vision from becoming reality. She sent Jack to hire more adventurers and people from Rivertown to solve the workforce issue. For the student quarters, she ordered to tear down most of the houses and build new ones. Previously, 2 disciples shared one house that had 2 rooms and a small hall, but now, each student house would have 2-story with 2 rooms on each floor. Her plan was to make 4 students share one house to save space, because in the future, when the Sunrise sect becomes the best, they would have thousands of students, and at that time, they would run out of houses if they went with the old plan. If an engineer from Earth was here, she would recognize the architecture for the student quarters as the colonial architecture style. Combined with Gaia's vision, each student house looked majestic, and when they were built, it would stun everyone with its beauty. Other than elder mansions and student quarters, she added new buildings to the plan, such as a library, combat range, state-of-the-art classrooms for practice alchemy, runes, and spells. Of course, it required not only millions of gold coins, but also skilled workers to build many of the buildings in her mind. For now, she focused on building elder mansions and student quarters. To decorate the sect and ornate the sect, she wanted to hire the elves from the Elven Nation rather than hiring humans because elves specialized in ornamenting a place. For the state-of-the-art buildings, she had dwarves in her mind because just like elves specialized in ornamenting, dwarves were specialists in building and crafting. However, hiring these 2 was not a simple or cheap thing. It cost her almost 400,000 gold coins to hire a 3-star dwarven builder to build their restaurant according to Michael's plan. She spent another 300,000 gold coins to buy the required materials and shipping costs. In simple words, she spent almost 2 million gold coins on renovating the sect and building the restaurant. Fortunately, Majestic was doing extremely well as their customer base only grew bigger with each passing day. She was planning to hire more assistants to help the business, but she had no time to conduct interviews. "Good morning, Sister Elia." "Good morning, Sister Elia." While she was taking a stroll around the student quarters, the disciples immediately bowed and greeted her. Some had pure fear in their eyes, while others had a mix of fear and admiration. The disciples didn't just stand there, but helped the workers in any way they could. Even the kids Michael rescued, along with Cindy, were helping the workers by supplying water and cool beverages to them. After her morning stroll, she came to the makeshift stable where she kept her new Pegasus. Since the previous Pegasus died at the Phoenix Island, she had Daniel pay for the dead Pegasus and hired another one. Before they opened the Majestic for business, she decided to check the progress of the restaurant in Rivertown. Plus, she wanted to see how the people are reacting to Jane's demise. Let's go to Rivertown. Peggy, she patted the new Pegasus on the head and mounted it to fly to Rivertown, leaving the overseeing the renovation to Jack. Miss Elia, when she landed near the building site where a bunch of people was working tirelessly, Daniel and Ricky came running to greet Gaia. "Where is that dwarf?" She saw no dwarf in the working site and asked both of them. The dwarf completely tore down the entire building, unlike Michael and Gaia expected. Because of that, they were building the restaurant from the ground up, which led to more working and resources. "Where is Raylene?" Before they could answer, Gaia asked them, noticing no Raylene around. Lord Gatmill and Lady Raylene went to Bradford. Miss Elia, Gaia noticed a glimmer of fear in Daniel's eyes while Ricky spoke. "Bradford? Why?" "Miss Elia, you knew Jane, right?" Ricky asked curiously as Gaia nodded. "The Devil of Bredia killed her and all of her bodyguards." Unlike Daniel, there was no fear in Ricky's eyes, which surprised Gaia, because weak people like him would be terrified in a situation like this. "Jane is dead." "Are you serious?" She acted as she didn't know anything about Jane. Ricky and Daniel nodded. "Yes, Miss Elia, I just came from Bredia." The entire city is in panic, and the Baron's sigh. Ricky sighed and felt pity for the Baron. "The man is broken into pieces. I had never seen a man cry like that." "Oh? Who is this Devil of Bredia?" "Lucifer." The moment the name escaped Ricky's mouth, she noticed some people stop working and praying, looking at the sky. Many people call him the Devil of Bredia since he first appeared in Bredia. Him? She growled inside because it was her who pretended to be the hostage, punching bag of Jane, and finally killed them. Yet, she was unable to take the credit, so she hid her emotions from showing on the face. "Why do you say it was Lucifer who killed them?" "The Baron has many enemies, Sister Elia. I saw the bodies. They were laid in the shape of L and Jane." There was a small pause in Ricky's voice for a few seconds before he continued. "She was hanged for the top of the manor. Lucifer broke her 2 arms sigh. She suffered before dying." Ricky obviously sympathized with Jane, but Gaia, who actually killed her, didn't feel a thing for Jane. Michael would have left her alive if she hadn't held off a grudge against him. Before dying, she sought revenge against him by messing with his business, as well as trying to kidnap Gaia. Many, including the old man, and Selena, advised her not to cross paths with Ghost, yet she did exactly the opposite and ended up losing her life. Unfortunately, the old man and his team became collateral damage. "Miss Elia, if you want anything from Bradford, you should get it soon." The soldiers were talking about a lockdown. Entire garrison of Bradford is searching for Lucifer, and I heard the church is also coming in case he really is the devil, Daniel added. It was no surprise to Gaia that the church is coming to Bradford because when something evil appears, they would come to cleanse the city with their holy guards. Aside from the garrison and the church, she also expected the Guardians to act as they would now suspect Lucifer to be the Dark Lord. With their current power, she knew they can't face either of those three. Fortunately for her, Michael could cultivate by killing Netherils, and the orc was waiting in the abyssal to summon Netherils for Ghost to kill. Michael and she were planning to stop terrorizing the kingdom for a couple of weeks till the heat goes down. Besides, after Ghost came out of Netherrealm, they would be busy managing their businesses as well as getting rich. Of course, they knew Selena would suspect him and come looking for trouble, but they had already devised a plan to deal with her. However, the spell Gaia was using to mask her cultivation was a legendary spell that could only be dispelled by a half-immortal. Considering Ghost was in the Nether Realm while Gaia killed Jane, the garrison or the Guardians wouldn't allocate too many resources to investigate him. "What do you think, Daniel? Don't you believe in the devil?" asked Gaia. "Of course I do, Miss Elia, but I just think this is a work of a human." "Don't be too sure, old man. That was not a work of a human. You know shit," Gaia thought inside as Ricky went on. "I saw those eyes. It wouldn't be surprised if they were scared to death. If you don't finish your work here, I will gouge out your eyes." Gaia kicked Ricky on the bottom and chased him away. "I want this built before Ghost returns," Gaia ordered Daniel. There are still 3 days until he returns, and she wanted to surprise him by giving him the new restaurant. Chapter 121. After getting the baby dragon and the ring of fire spell from Maisie, Michael spent the day roaming around the Nether Realm to find treasures. However, he had no luck finding another treasure like the Sky Garden or the baby dragon. When the daylight disappeared, he found another cave and decided to spend the night inside. The darkness of the cave freaked out the baby dragon as it rubbed its head against Michael's chin while groaning. "You shouldn't be afraid of darkness, baby dragon," he said after gently massaging the baby dragon's head. He then bought a torch and placed it inside the cave, not because of the baby dragon's fear of darkness, but he wanted to see the baby dragon with no one interrupting. He sat on the ground, lifting up the dragon like baby. Mud and blood stains covered its body, preventing him from seeing the baby dragon's color. Staring at the wonderment in his eyes, the baby dragon tilted its head. Everything seemed like a dream to him. He never expected in a million years that he would be transmigrated to another world and presented with an opportunity to control the entire world such as this one. Holding the baby dragon in his hands brought some memories he was desperate to forget. Yet the prickly tongue of the baby dragon stopped his train of thought. "Let's clean you up." He opened the system to buy a small bathtub so he could get rid of all the blood and mud stains from the baby dragon. The baby dragon's eyes were filled with curiosity when he placed the bathtub beside him. He then moved on to fill the tub with scented water. Surprisingly for Michael, the baby dragon shook its head, showing its reluctance to water. This act of the baby dragon reminded him of the dog back on Earth, who also hated taking a bath. The scaly little bastard might be a noble dragon, but acted like a spoiled puppy. "Nope, you're getting a bath." He flicked on its forehead, ignoring the protesting of the little dragon. The baby dragon was an intelligent creature. It realized that its protests were going to be in vain. Hugh. He felt the baby dragon's body getting warm. The closer he took the dragon to the tub, the warmer its body got. Alf! A sudden puff of flame came after he heard the dragon cough. Whoa! Although he was quick enough to save his hair from getting burned, he was still surprised to see the baby dragon breathe fire. "Do that again," he said gleefully, rubbing the baby dragon's head. Alf! He heard the sound again, yet unlike before, he didn't see any stream of fire, not even a puff of smoke from the dragon's mouth. Alf! The baby dragon coughed again and again and again, trying its best to breathe fire, except it failed to accomplish this feat again. "It's okay. You're still too little to breathe fire." Seeing the baby dragon struggling to breathe fire, he comforted the scaly creature, hiding his doubt and disappointment. While the dragon was distracted, he merged it in the water. The baby dragon cried in shock and fluttered its scaly wings, trying to escape from the clutches of this cold water. Michael had his hands full with the little dragon, who now had absolute hate for water for the next couple of minutes. He used enough force to keep the dragon still while he rubbed the dirt and blood stains off of its body. As the dirt washed up on the water, he started to see the glimmering crimson scales, the pitch-black claws, and the thin yet tough wings. On its head, he noticed swellings. He may not be an expert on dragon anatomy, but he watched enough dragons in the movies to know that swellings would soon become horns. He lifted up the baby dragon from the bathtub only after he made sure there wasn't a speck of single dirt on its body. The baby dragon gnawing his hand as an act of revenge, but those baby teeth weren't strong enough to hurt Michael. He cuddled the dragon, giving a soft kiss on its scaly forehead. Soon, those vertical slit pupils became round. At the same time, it puppy-eyed him to make him chuckle. After playing with the dragon a little, both of them watched the darkness outside in silence until the baby dragon fell asleep, curling itself on Michael's lap. Right when the first light appeared, Michael left the cave, searching for treasures. The baby dragon stared at every single thing like grass and tree in wonder, sitting comfortably on his shoulder. Michael was disappointed in the Nether Realm because people said although the place was filled with dangers, it also filled with treasures, but in his experience, the only treasure he came across was the Sky Garden. Of course, he got the baby dragon with the help of the system, yet it wasn't true for others. He preferred getting out of this place if this situation continued rather than wasting his time wandering around aimlessly. But soon, The Lady Luck surprised him with the sight of a large crowd in front of what seemed like an enormous cave. He walked cautiously towards the crowd and stood behind a large tree to see what's going on before acting. Well then, everyone, there's not much time left. We should plan accordingly now that we have 6 rare weapons here. We'll definitely be able to destroy those magical beasts and reduce the casualties to an absolute minimum. He heard a man's voice. No wonder they're called the rare weapons. Their strength is far too strong. Those big sects are rich as fuck with a rare weapon in their hands. Each of them can battle a body-strengthening stage beast. With the right strategy, they could even kill one. Many of the men there began to chat among themselves in quiet voices with a fear of speaking too loud. There are a total of 4 magical beasts. Each one of them is extremely dangerous and powerful. It requires 2 of us with a rare weapon in order to fight one of them to a standstill. I can only guess that it would take 3 of us with a rare weapon to kill one of the magical beasts. We have 6 rare weapon users, meaning that we can kill 2 of them. The other 2 will have to be dealt with by the others. Michael recognized this voice. It belonged to Evan Clark, one of the prodigies from the Morning Star. The last time he met Evan was on the battlefield fighting the Netherals in Rivertown. We have plenty of level 10 body, refining warriors. With the last 2 magical beasts, they'll be able to deal with them. Although no one else would have a rare weapon, the amount of them is enough to handle the last 2 beasts, another feminine voice said. Victoria. He instantly recognized Victoria by her voice. Knowing that these 2 were here, he realized that there must be something valuable inside the cave and worth exploring. Not to mention, he could harvest badass points by taking the spotlight from these so-called prodigies. That's correct. If we all work together, then we will be able to break past the defensive line of the magical beasts. I agree to this plan, Victoria said. I agree as well. Followed by Victoria's voice, he heard Hannah Berry's voice. What is she doing here? Flashing the Netherals to death. Michael chuckled inside. The crowd saw 3 of the 5 experts had all agreed, while the other 2 remained silent. Noah, Alicia, if we may have your opinion. Evan looked at Alicia and Noah, and then the little girl beside them. I see no problems. Both Noah and Alicia nodded their head in agreement with Evan's plan. Seeing the strongest among them give their agreement, Evan had a look of excitement on his face. Then, taking a glance at the crowd, he spoke in a loud voice. Everyone, now that the 5 experts have all united to enter the Immortals' Cave, I hope that everyone will stand with us. Our combined strength will be enough to kill the magical beasts, and whoever enters the cave will be able to take what they find. As soon as Evan finished his speech, everyone stood up at once and began to cheer loudly. Each one of these men was at level 10 of the body refining stage, and with their rare weapons, they were on par with body-strengthening level 5 warriors. If you're not above at least level 7, then don't throw your life away. We are only inviting those who are at the peak level to fight with us. Victoria yelled out loud, causing those who didn't meet the criteria to be displeased. Victoria sounded arrogant, as usual. The way she spoke irked many people, but they had to stay back unless they wanted to end up as magical beast herds. After this, those who weren't strong enough to face the magical beasts could only retreat away from the cave grounds, leaving behind around 70 men. Each of them was at or above the level 7 body refining stage with a strong background and a determined face. Good, then let's have everyone here so we can plan things out. I propose that we split up into 4 groups. Each one will deal with a single magical beast. Does anyone have any opinions? Evans spoke. This plan's fine, I agree. I agree as well. Everyone began to ask their questions. Shouldn't we wait for Ghost? Among the crowd, a person asked, making Michael grin. Chapter 122. After the man asked the question, among the crowd, there were a few moments of silence. It was Victoria who broke this silence with her words. We are not waiting for anyone. The people here are more than enough to slay those 4 beasts. She left no place for anyone to talk back. Ever since he humiliated her during Heaven's Gate competition by Spartan kicking her off the stage, the seed of hate towards Ghost had grown into a giant tree in her heart. Every time she hears the name Ghost, a flash of anger would emerge from her soul itself. Hearing the name she hates the most again, Deep down, she hoped he had died somewhere in the nether realm. That bitch didn't change a bit, Michael said to the little dragon as it tilted its head confused. Evan smiled. Ghost can join the fight when he comes here. For now, the inner group here has enough people to split into 2 groups. The rest of the men here should split into 2 groups as well. Does anyone have any objections? The inner group Evan had mentioned were all standing right next to him. All of them belonged to either one of the 3 sects or a powerful faction like the Guardian Guild. Behind the tree, Michael was scanning the area to detect the so-called 4 magical beasts they were meticulously planning to defeat. His closed eyes opened abruptly when he detected the magical beasts using his environmental scanning. 4 core formation level 7. These beasts were not something he could handle alone. Maybe with Gaia, he could have defeated one, but even with her at his side, no way in hell he could have killed more than 2. Fortunately, these guys were preparing to fight the beasts, leaving him to plot a plan of his own. On the other side, Evan spoke to the others, for magical beasts are guarding the Immortal's Cave. The names of each of these strong magical beasts are the winged ash snake, golden lightning lion, bearded earthworm, and the ground terror. After examining them closely, we've already established that their strength is the same as each other. The only difference is their innate skills. The winged ash snake is capable of flying and spitting out an extremely potent acid. If it takes off into the air, then it will be extremely hard to deal with. The golden lightning lion has an extremely high defense because of its golden scales. As the name suggests, it can also spit out lightning as well as discharge electricity from its body. It would be best for everyone to stay away from it. The bearded earthworm is a special variation of an earthworm. It has an equally strong defense to the golden lightning lion, but its only weakness is it is slow. If anyone has speed spells, the bearded earthworm will be your best target. Few of them who had speed-enhancing spells decided to take on the bearded earthworm. The last one is the ground terror and our biggest headache. Its attack strength isn't as strong as the other 3, but the most annoying trait about it is that it's fast, extremely fast. In a blinking moment, it can drill deep into the earth to evade our attacks, and then strike out from underneath. It is completely silent when it's underground and leaves behind no trace. It can attack from underneath one's foot at any time, and while it is the weakest in terms of attacks, its attacks are generally unblockable. At the mention of the ground terror, Victoria's eyes narrowed angrily. Clearly, she had fought one before and ended up on the losing side. Evan, which magical beast do you think we should take on? Noah asked from his side. We should target the winged ash snake. We have 3 rare weapons, and one of them is a longbow. If the winged ash snake were to take to the skies, then we could shoot it down. We also have a whip that can tether and restrict the snake's mobility. At the very least, we could prevent it from taking to the skies. These 2 weapons are the bane of the winged ash snake. Evan spoke with no hesitation. Noah thought for a moment before nodding his head in agreement. Makes sense since Abel went missing. Noah wasn't his usual self, or he would have taken the initiative to lead the group against these for magical beasts. Alicia hoped they would find Abel soon, alive and well. After hearing Evan, Victoria spoke up. The bearded earthworm has extremely strong defenses and has a lot of strength as well. The average body refining stage warrior wouldn't be able to do any damage to it, and without a rare weapon, its defenses cannot be pierced. I will lead a group to take this one. The others can deal with Golden Lightning Lion and Ground Terror in a flash. The discussion was over. The most annoying magical beast, the Ground Terror, who had an unavoidable and unblockable attack, and the strongest magical beast, the Golden Lightning Lion, were given to the last 2 divisions. Henneberry led one while a rogue cultivator led the other. Although the men in those 2 divisions were displeased, they weren't able to say anything. The winged ash snake was capable of flight, which would render all those on the ground helpless. It would also be able to strike at the men on the ground with its potent acid, so this magical beast was best suited for the group with a longbow and whip user. I should pick the weakest beast. He recalled what Evan said about all the beasts, thinking which beast he should target. Without another thought, he removed the Ground Terror from his mind. That left him with 3 options: the Golden Lightning Lion, the Bearded Earthworm, and the winged ash snake, except Noah and his group picked the winged ash snake. Considering he couldn't use the long-ranged weapon as good as Gaia, he decided to leave the winged ash snake to his group. Finally, after deep thinking, he chose the bearded earthworm as his target. He had two reasons to choose the earthworm. First, he could use its slowness to his advantage, and second, he would be able to steal the spotlight from Victoria as well as get more badass points from the system. Although the Ground Terror and Golden Lightning Lion were both hard to deal with, the remaining two divisions were strong in their own right and had many people. With at least 30 peak body refining stage warriors against a single magical beast, the problem shouldn't be that big. After walking towards the cave for a few minutes, everyone came to a stop as they spotted the remains of a battleground. Some were engulfed by greediness. They thought they could make their way into the cave without alerting the 4 beasts guarding the cave entrance, except they couldn't. Suddenly, the thunderous roar of a magical beast could be heard as it shook both the heavens and the earth with an ear-splitting sound. Then, 3 enormous magical beasts came into view. One massive python of large width with a head bigger than the height of a fully matured man and black wings. This was the winged ash snake. Right next to the winged ash snake was a gigantic lion with a ferocious look and body covered with golden scales. Occasionally, a ripple of electricity would dance across its body. This was the golden lightning lion. To the side of the golden lightning lion was a lizard-like magical beast that was 1 meter tall and 10 meters long. 4 stumpy legs held it up from the ground, and its body was completely covered by grayish scales. The most iconic feature of this magical beast was the long beard hanging from its chin. Obviously, everyone recognized this as the bearded earthworm. As these 3 magical beasts appeared, everyone felt a sudden surge of power in the air, pressing against their chest as if there were a heavy stone there, making them difficult to move. Don't panic now. The Ground Terror might still be underground, so be careful, Victoria said as she held up her flaming sword and charged toward the bearded earthworm. Following straight behind, Noah, Evan, Alicia, and their group charged at their target. Standing atop a tree branch, Michael watched the battle starting between the magical beasts and the youngsters. On his shoulder, the baby dragon craned its neck to see the battle. Maybe he was wrong, but the baby dragon sounded like it's asking why isn't he taking part in the battle. Let them fight and weaken the beasts, then I will take out the weakest. Note this baby dragon. Do not pick a fight that you cannot win. The baby dragon moved its head up and down, acknowledging his advice. Michael had 2 plans. In plan A, he would kill the beasts after they weakened the beasts using all their spells and attacks. In plan B, he would simply dash into the cave while the 4 beasts were occupied with the youngsters. Of course, he could ask the system to get a perfect solution, but he decided to test himself to prove himself that he could survive without the system's help, because overly depending on the system might become his weakness in the future. To take out these beasts and overcome this situation, he would use his current as well as the skill set he learned as an assassin. At that moment, aside from the Ground Terror, the other 3 magical beasts began to take action. He focused on the bearded earthworm to study all of its movements and attacks. This is going to be a battle where Michael had to depend on himself completely rather than the system. Chapter 123 Whoosh. With a flash of golden light, the yellow-clothed girl in Noah's group shot an arrow from her saloner bow aiming at the winged ash snake. Bang! The arrow collided against the winged ash snake, producing an explosive sound. The snake's entire body began to spasm for a moment before settling once more. On its giant body, a single bloody hole could be seen. With an enormous hissing sound that stung the ears, the snake focused on the girl. Those vertical slit pupils were locked onto the girl. Use the whip to bind its body. Evan raised his spear, roaring at the snake while keeping a safe distance from the snake. Alicia dashed forward with a serious expression. In an instant, the whip in her hands blurred as it flew toward the snake's body. While in midair, the whip began to extend before becoming a 100-meter-long cord that wrapped around the 2 wings and bound it shut, preventing the snake from flying. Forward! Evan roared. With his rare weapon in the air, he and 3 other men dashed at the winged ash snake. At the same time, Noah's body blurred away as aimed his light wind sword to attack. Bang! An explosive sound and a billow of energy pulsed out like an ocean of energy. The surrounding area quickly went to ruins as the 3 other divisions began to fight as well. As the battle continued for some time, a cry filled with pain could be heard on the battlefield as a youngster was bitten from the waist down by a creature whose head looked like a mouse, dragging him down beneath the ground. Ground terror. The ground terror is here. Everyone, be careful of the ground. As soon as everyone heard the yell, they all stared intently at the ground. At that moment, right in front of the group, a large golden-colored rat-like beast flew up from the ground with the upper half of a man in its mouth. Be careful, the ground terror is here. Hurry up and attack it. Don't let it escape into the ground. As soon as the ground terror appeared, everyone began to shout out loud as they charged at the ground terror. The ground terror was extremely fast and immediately flew back into the ground after swallowing the body in its mouth. Even when rare weapons slashed at its body, only sparks could be seen. The ground terror was a scaled magical beast with silvery scales all over its body. Despite its defenses not being as strong as the bearded earthworm, it was still stronger than what the average body refining stage warrior could damage. An incredibly sharp spike arose from the ground and instantly speared through the hip of a man before he could even react. The man cried out in a shrill voice before thrusting his fire attribute rare weapon into the ground in hopes of exposing the ground terror from its subterranean hiding spot. All that he hit was earth as the ground terror had already moved on from one area to another. An intense purple light flashed as the entire world shook all of a sudden. By the side, the golden lightning lion shot out a blue spear of lightning that arced toward the closest person, reducing his body to nothing but ashes. Several men immediately struck out at the lion with their rare weapons, creating a clunking sound as they smashed against its scales with some sparks and blood. Although the golden lightning lion's defenses weren't weak, it wasn't capable of defending against a barrage of blows of a large group without taking some damage. An angry roar was emitted from the lion's mouth as it swiped its sharp claws at the surrounding people attacking it. Another arc of lightning was spat out from the lion's mouth, striking the closest person without giving him a chance to dodge. In that instant, 5 of the 30 warriors who attacked the golden lightning lion had been shocked by the lightning and fell to the floor with charcoal black bodies. The winged ash snake wasn't much stronger than the bearded earthworm, especially with its wings restricted by Alicia's whip. She used her and her whip's full power to attack the snake. Although the snake was a core formation level beast, it wasn't as intelligent as those who were fighting it. Therefore, with 3 rare weapons and good strategy, they were able to do some damage to the snake. In the end, the snake's strength while bound up was far less than before, which impacted it majorly, so only around 60% of its full power could be displayed. The winged ash snake continued to struggle fiercely against the bindings, but to no avail. The wounds on its body were growing more and more severe, and its temper even more violent. Alicia's face grew serious as she bit her lower lip and concentrated while sweat pooled over her forehead. At the moment, she was completely focused on constraining the wings of the winged ash snake. Suddenly, the winged ash snake let out a loud hiss as a large amount of corrosive acid shot from its mouth headed in every direction. Watch out! Noah saw the winged ash snake turning its head at Alicia to fire a blob of corrosive acid, which was powerful enough to melt Alicia, giving her a horrible death. Noah knew he couldn't reach Alicia in time. The golden Babaru could have helped her, but it was with Maisie back at the cabin. He felt helpless and threw his sword at the snake, even though he knew it couldn't hurt the snake. Z-Z-Z-Z-Ch-Ch-Ch-Ch-Ch-Ch. Z-Z-Z-Z-Ch-Ch-Ch-Ch-Ch-Ch-Ch. Alicia closed her eyes knowing it's too late to move, but at that exact time, she heard 2 crackling sounds. Hi-Iasis. She opened her eyes to see the snake shaking its head violently. There were 2 large holes in its head, exactly at the place where it had 2 eyes. Ghost! Evan couldn't help but shout in relief when he saw Michael before he transformed into a bolt of lightning. After blinding the snake using his upgraded Ignitia, Michael didn't waste any time lingering around. He dashed at the snake at full speed, getting closer to the snake in mere seconds. Whoosh! The arch energy as well as the speed gave him enough strength to leap into the air. Evan's jaw slightly dropped when he saw Ghost landing directly on the winged ash snake's head. "Keep it still." Noah shouted at Alicia, who used her full strength to keep the snake from taking off with Ghost on its head. Michael's training as an assassin came in handy to stay on its head without falling down. Nonetheless, he didn't plan to stay longer as he crouched, placing his two hands right between those two bloody eyes. Ignitia! Michael conjured all his arch energy. Thick cracks of lightning emerged from his hand, dancing around his fingers. Zzz-ch-ch-ch-ch-ch-ch-ch-ch-ch-ch. Boom! Everyone heard the loud, crackling sound of electricity, and the very next moment, a loud boom sound reverberated the area. Splashes of hot blood, organs, and dirt splattered across the area surrounding the snake. The burning smell and iron filled the air, yet Evan or anyone who witnessed the snake's head explode into a blood-red mist didn't twitch their noses, but stood still looking at Michael comfortably landing on his feet, bathed in the snake's blood. His eyes contained a sense of accomplishment and pride within, while his lips curved upwards, making him look like a blood demon. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a core formation stage level 7 beast. The reward is 60,000 experience points and 1,000 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 1,500 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 2,000 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 3,000 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 500 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 300 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 300 badass points. The moment the others noticed the headless snake lying on the ground in its own pool of blood and Ghost in front of it, their faces went still with shock and amazement. There were still cracks of lightning dancing around and through the snake's body, as well as grayish smoke radiating from the part where the head was. Even Noah was no different from the rest. Just then, the bearded earthworm let out a terrible sound as well before collapsing to the ground. Victoria was breathing heavily while clutching her sword tightly. She had more than 20 men before the fight, but now, only 10 or so people stood behind her, terrified and ready to run for their life. Time to kill the worm, Michael thought to himself, looking at the bearded earthworm. Although he hated Victoria, looking at the injuries and the large wounds on the bearded earthworm's body, he felt grateful towards her because she just made his life better, a lot better. Until a few minutes ago, his target was this earthworm, but when he noticed the snake struggling under the attack of Noah and his group, he changed his target to the snake. However, it was not as simple as blinding its eyes and killing it like he did. Before he actually fired bolts of lightning at the snake, he concocted a variant of the devil's breath and mixed the gas in the air around the snake using his arch energy. The more everyone inhaled the air, without them knowing, they would become weak, including the snake. Coupled with his potion and Alicia's hard work of keeping the snake still, he got the chance to target its eyes, the weakest part in its body. His attack caught the snake in surprise, leaving no time for it to defend or dodge. Of course, he wanted to let the snake finish Alicia, so he would have one less enemy in the future, but unfortunately, the devil's breath could only weaken the snake for a few precious seconds. "Evan, give me your spear." Evan knew about his speed spell, therefore, when he asked for the spear, Evan threw the spear to him because it would be more useful to Ghost than to him in this situation. The earthworm had already suffered major wounds in the battle with Victoria and her group. Since Earthworm was the weakest and Victoria used all of her powerful spells and her rare weapons to fight it. The worm's strength was reduced to almost 60%. Taking the spear, Michael didn't immediately activate the lightning dash, but stealthily moved towards the earthworm while it was focusing on Victoria. If the earthworm could kill before he reaches his desired position to attack the worm, so be it. No rush, this was his thought. While he was snaking towards the earthworm, he signaled Noah and Evan to attack at the same time as he thought hand signs. Noah nodded, then Evan, and finally Alicia. The trio didn't take anyone with them to ambush the earthworm because a large group could alert and take the worm's attention from Victoria. Michael focused completely on the target before him, not at the other two magical beasts ravaging the rest of the youngsters. Inside Michael's long coat's pocket, the baby dragon attempted to move, trying to see what's going on outside, except Michael tapped his chest, making the dragon stop moving. Now that he dealt with this minor trouble, he conjured the alchemy flames heating the tip of the spear. Evan saw his spear tip turning from silvery white to bright orange. When he was just 20 meters away from the earthworm, he stopped and showed 3 fingers indicating that he would attack in the count of 3. 3 fingers, 2 fingers, 1 finger. Lightning dash. He activated the skill silently. Then he dashed forward, aiming the heated spear at the big black in its head, which seemed to be the eyes. Godly slash. Death frost. At the same time, both Noah and Alicia began their attack. A crescent-shaped golden light soared through the air towards the worm, while a bone-chilling frost of ice instantly covered the earthworm. Normal spear stab. Just like before, Michael leaped into the air, muttering these 3 words under his breath with a small chuckle in his mind. Boom! The golden light Noah sent was powerful enough to cut through the worm's strong scales, and the frost spell Alicia used crystallized half of its body, and the frost continued to crystallize the rest of its body. It's mine! Victoria screamed madly, seeing they're going to finish the job she started. She didn't want them to take the credit, especially Ghost, except he already stabbed the spear through the worm's eyes, making the worm shudder violently. Michael retrieved the spear to stab it again and again until it stopped shuddering. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a core formation stage level 7 beast. The reward is 60,000 experience points and 1,000 badass points. Just when he saw the notification, did he stop stabbing the worm. Both the winged ash snake and the bearded earthworm were dead now. Only 2 remained. One was the golden lightning lion, which was prancing about. Despite the wounds on its body, they were nowhere near killing the lion. The ground terror was the most healthy one. Scuttling about underground, it would play hide and seek with those on top, as if it were a game rather than a battle. Appearing and disappearing randomly before attacking people in a single instance, it left behind no traces and only a major headache. The groups who were fighting both the golden lightning lion and the ground terror had taken major casualties. At least 12 men died fighting the lion, while many more had taken serious damage. As for the ground terror, it had already swallowed 7 men while injuring 12 others. The ground terror hadn't even taken any damage yet. The golden lightning lion is far too strong. Come and help us quickly, or we won't last much longer. Help us deal with the ground terror. Seeing how the winged ash snake and the bearded earthworm were killed, the others cried out for assistance with glee. Quickly steadying himself, Noah dashed to those in need of help. Follow me. Without looking at the earthworm's corpse, Noah called out to the rest of the men to follow him to battle the remaining beasts. Surprisingly, Evan and Victoria followed Noah, but not before Evan took his spear from Michael. Are these idiots expecting me to join? No thanks. In the heat of battle, they forgot why they came here, but not Michael. He had no intention to help those youngsters because the remaining 2 magical beasts were not harmed. Not at all. Although with Noah, Evan, Victoria, and Alicia by his side, he could kill one of them or even both. He didn't come here to kill magical beasts, but to take the treasures inside the cave. Just like Michael, few of them had the same thought. They were looking for the right time to dash into the cave following Michael. Ignoring them, Michael dashed into a cave. This cave was unnaturally deep, and with every single interval, There was a single night pearl emanating a white glow of light. The interior and cave walls were glossy as well, meaning that someone had used an incredible amount of strength to cut the walls evenly. Bang! A loud sound could be heard up ahead as the entire passageway began to tremble. He began to hasten his pace even more before quickly arriving at an area where a single stone door blocked his path. Chapter 124. Michael ran his fingers through the old sturdy wall, blocking his path. He looked around to find if there's a mechanism to open this stone wall, yet he could find only dust and pebbles around. Okay, let's do this the hard way then. He strode forward and immediately struck the door fiercely with his fist. With a muffled sound, the stone door continued to tower over everyone else, with only some dust being shaken down. At this sight, everyone who followed him behind was astounded. Even he had been stunned for a moment before muttering to himself, "Is this really a stone door?" He knew clearly just how much strength was put behind his fist. Even an iron door would have a hole blasted through it, but this stone door wasn't even scratched. Holy shit, is this really a stone door? It's unbelievably hard. This stone door definitely isn't an ordinary one. Everyone began to chat among themselves. Need help? He heard the familiar robotic yet slightly human voice in his head. Nope. We'll need to see how far I can get without your help. Michael thought. He tightened his fist again to punch the stone wall again. If there was a trace of arch energy around the door, he would have looked for another way, because it's near impossible to break something enchanted using arch energy, but this door had no arch energy, which means, with enough force, he could break this door. Bang! An ear-splitting sound could be heard as the entire cave shook after he punched the door again. Everyone shook their heads in pain as they steadied themselves. After a while, the cave grew quiet once more. Everyone's eyes remained wide open as they looked at the stone door in shock. It continued to stand over them as if normal. Jude just was used to make this stone door. It's really hard. Michael was annoyed at these people behind him. They weren't even helping, and the only thing they were doing since they followed him to the cave was staring at the stone wall. Third time's the charm. Just as he was about to punch the door the third time, a large animalistic reverberated the cave, causing everyone's face to lose color. That's the golden lightning lion and the sounds of footsteps. God damn it, they brought it here. Fuck, one of them yelled. Fuck it, the pitch-black darkness of the cave, and the fact these idiots bringing the lion to him gave him an idea which could work. Gritting his teeth, he closed his eyes. Death ranged the moment he uttered these two words. The arch energy in his body rushed into his veins, making every muscle in the body stronger. He could feel his strength growing exponentially, and since the cave was already pitch black, none could notice the darkness of the death range. Without any hesitation, he punched the stone wall. Bang! A loud sound could be heard as a large shockwave of energy exploded outward at an alarming speed, washing over everyone while the cave itself began to shake almost as if it was on the verge of collapsing in on itself. Upon looking at the stone door, there were several cracks, but it was still not broken. Everyone let out a shocked gasp. The stone door was far stronger than anyone had imagined. On the other side, he could rejoice about the durability of the Immortal's cave. Even after such a heavy blow, it still had not collapsed. Break for me. Michael gritted his teeth. Immediately, he punched again, and this time, his punch was stronger than the one before. Another explosive sound could be heard as stone pieces could be seen flying about, and the cave echoed with the sound. After the second strike, the unbelievably strong stone door had finally been shattered, but not completely. The hole that appeared at the wall could only let one person at a time. Even that person had to be slim enough to slide through the crack. Fortunately, he wasn't a bodybuilder or fatty. Let's go. Move quick. We can't fight that beast in here. Many shouted in terror, while Michael was sliding through the crack to reach the side. He desperately wanted to block this crack, leaving these lazy bastards to die, but time was not in his favor. After wiggling his body through the crack, he came to the other side of the stone wall and reached the inner parts of the cave. The cave was extremely large and spacious. Hanging right on the ceiling of the cave was a single head-sized night pearl that illuminated the entire cave with its shiny glow. In front of him, there was a tall bookshelf, and on top of this bookshelf, there were some neatly placed scrolls. All these scrolls were covered in dust. They had clearly been here for a long period of time. Right next to a tall bookshelf was another single haphazardly made wooden bookshelf with several books on it. He walked up to the top bookshelf and grabbed a book with a sudden look of shock on his face. All of these books were rare spells. He was surprised by what he just found. Fiery Wrath creates a weapon of fiery energy. This is incredible. I just picked one at random, and it was a rare spell. Michael's eyes were glistening in excitement. So many scrolls. There are also books. This is a library. No shit. The system sounded irritated, but he ignored it, sending everything he picked into his system storage before the system asks rent for storage space. Energy Rage creates claws of electric energy. Damn, I hit the jackpot. Michael couldn't hold his excitement, thinking how powerful he would become after learning all these spells. He would be untouchable, and he saved thousands of badass points. System, did you just laugh? The system went silent, but he could swear he heard the system chuckle. Clean first, think later. He had no time bitch with the system, as Noah and those idiots would come here soon. And then he would have to share this loot with them unless he wanted to make some powerful enemies by fighting. That he did not want, because the spells are valuable, but they're not worth it if he had to make powerful enemies. Thinking about this, he fastened his pace of storing the spells in his system storage while the people behind him were reading the spell scrolls one by one to choose which one they should get, considering they had limited space in their space ring. Baby Dragon, if we take everything here back to our sect, we will become the fourth big sect. Michael patted his chest. He could sense the baby dragon had fallen asleep, or it would have clawed its way out of his coat to give him a dragon saliva bath. Need a diversion. He noticed one by one people were turning their gazes at his bookshelf. Looking at this, he decided to turn their gaze towards somewhere else, and to do that, what would be better than a good old-fashioned flashbang? He knew one day this would come in handy after using these to get rid of the bandits during his first quest. He crept into the corner of the shelf where he had the cover of darkness and retrieved the flashbang. Fire in the hole, bitches, he snickered, throwing the flashbang to the faraway corner of the cave. Bang. The sudden flash and explosion sound shook the cave, making everyone jump back in shock and surprise. Just as the flashbang exploded, he waved his hand and took all the scrolls into his space ring before punching the bookshelf to make it fall to the ground. What was that? Michael shouted like he had nothing to do with the explosion. Move faster, people. The place might come down on our head. Like a good human being, he advised the people as everyone nodded. Those who eyed the bookshelf could now only sigh because they preferred to take what they could easily rather than lifting the shelf up and then search for a spell. As soon as he took all the spell scrolls, he laughed inside and joined the others to look around the cave, hoping to find even more treasures. Despite the expansive cave, the items within were relatively scarce. Aside from the rare spells, there was nothing else that made him excited as before, but that didn't mean he left those common and uncommon spells untouched. He took many of those scrolls without alerting the others, as he didn't want them to wonder where he got the space to store all the spells. Bang! 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 Suddenly, the silent atmosphere of the cave changed by the thundering, booming sounds which seemed to be coming from breaking the stone wall. Soon, Michael saw Noah and the group rushed into the cave, making him curse those useless magical beasts outside. Core formation, my ass. Why couldn't they kill them all? In the next second, something strange happened as the stone chest table slowly began to descend into the ground when an idiot who just came here began to investigate the table. Immediately jumping away from the table, Noah could only look on in astonishment as the table descended deeper into the ground before exclaiming, what's happening? He couldn't have activated some sort of mechanism, has he? Even as Noah spoke, the group of men in the cave all grew vigilant as they began to worry whether or not the mechanism that was activated would kill them. Seeing the sudden change, Michael was ready to use the teleportation scroll he got from the system to escape the cave. He didn't want to see how far he could get without the help of the system, but he would rather live another day to test himself than dying here. As the table descended into the ground, it was almost as if there was indeed a mechanism, as Noah had said. The cave began to shake as a muffled boom could be heard, and a hidden stone door slowly started to rise up from the ground. There must be a treasure inside. Hurry up and enter before anyone else can. Hurry up and go in. There has to be some legendary treasure inside. The crowded cave of people quickly began to cry out loud as they charged toward the area. Michael didn't hesitate for even a moment. In an instant, they quickly flew toward the stone door. In a blur of movements, he activated the lighting dash and disappeared into the hidden door. The area past the hidden door was quite small. Only a few men could stand inside. There seemed to be a single person resting inside, and right above his head was a single fist-sized night pearl that seemed to endlessly pour out a ray of light that would never cease. As soon as several men entered this small cave, they immediately felt a tremendous amount of pressure coming at them from all angles. It was enough for everyone to suddenly become serious, as their hearts could feel the shock. This cave was not a normal one. Right next to one of the walls was a single jade white bed. On the white bed, a single white skeleton could be seen maintaining a meditative position for an unknown amount of time. This entire skeleton exuded a fluorescent light from itself as well. Although it was only a skeleton, it was giving off an incredible amount of pressure. Even the faint amount of power that could be felt in the room was coming from this skeleton. This is the skeleton of a fusion stage cultivator. Victoria shouted out loud in shock at the skeleton. Noah, Evan, Michael all showed similar signs of shock at this newfound discovery. As they discovered the skeleton and felt excitement overtake them, everyone soon quickly felt their blood begin to boil. In a single flash of movement of Victoria that caused a squall of wind to appear, she flew toward the skeleton. At the same time, everyone, including Michael, charged toward it. Everyone looked at the skeleton with their blood pounding in veins. Immediately using any speed-enhancing spell they had, they tried to get closer to the skeleton before the others, except Michael, who stopped at some distance from the skeleton, trusting his instincts. Chapter 125. With greediness overflowing out of her eyes, Victoria reached out at the skeleton. The others were too late to react or stop Victoria. They could only watch her from behind. However, just as her hand was a couple of inches away from the skeleton, an unearthly humming came from the skeleton, and the next moment, a sudden force blasted Victoria back. One person, one bone, a loud yet calm voice echoed through the cave. Many became flabbergasted, looking around the cave to locate the voice, but Michael could somehow sense the voice belonged to the fusion stage cultivator. After flying, or rather stumbling back a few meters, Victoria quickly regained her composure, but not before baring her teeth looking at the skeleton. She obviously avoided making eye contact with others, especially with Ghost, who was ready to laugh at her misfortune. "I think the cultivator only wants us to take only one bone each," Evan said, taking everyone's focus from Victoria. Michael inwardly rolled his eyes, looking at the tension between Evan and Victoria. It was not a tension of hostility, but rather the tension of affection. No shit, Sherlock, thought Michael. He was happy that he didn't lightning dash to the skeleton before anyone else, or he would have been thrown away instead of Victoria. He leaned on the wall and willed to activate the energy devourer, hoping to turn the pressure coming from the skeleton into experience points, while these people could come to a decision. Unlike everyone else in this world, he was unable to cultivate through the usual means. He had to rely on the system to cultivate. Therefore, he did not have a choice other than using the system to earn experience points, which was the only way for him to level up. System level is too low to break the barrier around the skeleton. Level 4 Energy Devourer required to transform the fusion stage Archenergy. His vision was blocked by these two notifications. Now, that his plan to screw everyone before they dismantle the skeleton, he had to wait to either fight over the skeleton or someone to come up with a peaceful way to solve this problem. Although he was not on Earth, the anatomy of these cultivators was the same as the Earthlings. They had 206 bones in their bodies. Obviously, He knew they wouldn't resolve this peacefully because if they agreed to take one bone as the skeleton said, people like Victoria would aim for the biggest bones in the body, such as the skull or femur. Most of the cultivators in this world tend to be greedy and vengeful, which led to unnecessary wars and fights. Of course, Michael was not the one to talk about either of those because he stole all the scrolls on the top shelf just a moment ago without leaving a single scroll to the others. He'll take the skull, fuck you. I fought the ground terror, so he'll take the skull. He'll be the big man and take the spinal cord. You can have the skull, spinal cord? You dumb fucker. There are 42 individual bones in the spinal cord. Stupid fuckers. Where did you two learn anatomy? In the toilet? It's not 42. It's 33-inch. What did you call me? As Michael expected, they began to bicker, ready to fight for a bone. Each of them looked like a Rottweiler in his eyes for a moment before Noah opened his mouth. Shut up. Since Noah was one of the strongest in the room, the crowd quickly stopped bickering. Alicia, how many of us are here? 43. Well, choose by chance, after he said. Alicia waved her hand as a quill and a paper appeared in her hand. Is she writing the names of all the bones in the body, still leaning on the cave wall? He sighed. He wanted to get this over with and get out of the cave before it could collapse on them. After a few moments, with a flick of her wrist, she threw 206 small paper rolls on the ground in front of the skeleton. Each roll has a bone name written on it. Each takes one, and lets fate decide which bone one will get. Don't worry, we'll pick last, Alicia said before someone questioned her and Noah. But Dash, you have a better plan? Even after Alicia explained, somebody raised a question, but that somebody was instantly shut by Noah. Who would go first? Evan asked as they all shared this same question. He'll go first. They all heard the voice turning their heads to see Michael finally decide to join them. He calmly walked towards the paper rolls. Most of them saw him killing 2 core formation beasts had fear etched into their brain cells. Someone had to go first, and they did not protest him being that someone because they admired him and most of all, they feared him. System, locate the femur, 1,000 badass points. Take it. He expected Victoria to be the bitch in the crowd, but surprisingly, she kept her mouth shut while he noticed a glimmer around one particular paper roll. He gently bent his back, trying not to wake up the sleepy dragon in his pocket. All the eyes in the cave were glued to Michael, wondering whether he would be blasted away like Victoria, while many craned their necks to see which bone he would get. Alicia's enchantment kicked in when he picked the paper roll and projected the word femur in a large glistening word above him. Oh, come on. Lucky bastard, he got the baby dragon. Now he's really lucky. All of them bore a surprised look on their faces. Many couldn't help but feel frustrations grow inside, seeing he got the largest bone. With a small smile on his face, he made his way towards the skeleton. I'm going to take only one, said as he put his hand on the skeleton's femur. Unlike before, there was no sudden blast of force. The femur came to his hand after making a crackling sound. His small smile grew into a medium grin, sensing the pure arch energy that was radiated by the femur in his hand. Although he might not be able to use this femur to level up, his snake friend certainly could. With his plans to grow the power of his base of operations, as well as himself, he needed a loyal and powerful friend like Gaia. The stronger she grew, the more protection and help he would get. Now that he had gotten the femur, he swiftly stepped back from the skeleton, not trying anything funny. As far as he was concerned, he earned not only enough experience points to level up to body strengthening level 5, he also got the baby dragon, rare herbs, spell scrolls, contract of Aragoth, and the bone of a fusion stage cultivator, while making fewer enemies. The Nether Realm had been kind to him until now, unlike it was to Noah, Maisie, or poor Abel. Most of them lost their friends, limbs, and lives after entering the Nether Realm, except Michael. Thank you, putting the femur in his storage ring. He gave a short nod at the skeleton. He ignored every greedy pair of eyes on him, except one pair of eyes, Noah's. His calm, radiant black eyes stared at Michael with a ting of surprise hidden within. Michael felt something he couldn't describe. It was a new feeling that appeared and disappeared in a flash. His neck hair tingled, but he did not show his shock on his face as he walked away from the skeleton as well as the crowd towards the exit. Some rogue cultivators wanted to simply kill him and take the femur from him without trying their luck, but Michael's dealing with Aragoth made them stand still. They were not dumb enough to mess with an ally of Aragoth. His relationship with Sade prevented Hannah Berry from giving him a seductive smile while he was walking past her. Coupled with Sadie, he now had two powerful allies, Silvermoon and Aragoth. "He'll go next." Michael heard Evan's voice before he left through the crack. He was absolutely positive that they will soon fight again despite Noah's solution. At that time, he didn't want to be there. After leaving the inner parts of the cave, he slowed down his pace, scanning for any signs of the two remaining magical beasts. Luckily, his environment scanning detected no threats in the surrounding, which made him immediately use the lightning dash to disappear before they came looking for trouble. Eventually, when he was searching for another cave or treasure, he heard the howling sound of the wind on the horizon and looked up to see a bright beam of light emerge from the ground. Portal! He recognized the energy signature. It was the same energy signature as the portal everyone entered through into the Nether Realm. He felt relieved and excited to leave this place. He wanted to level up, expand his herbal garden, and most of all, he wanted to show the baby dragon to Gaia, just to see the look on her face. "She's gonna freak the hell out. He chuckled under his breath. Despite being in the Guardian Guild, Noah still made a lot of enemies ever since he came to Netherrealm and lost a dear friend, but Michael earned allies, a servant who could summon Netherils at his will. They both were two sides of the coin. They both walked entirely different paths. One wanted to reach the top of the food chain to save people, while the other wanted to rule them. The Netherrealm was the starting place of the war between light and darkness. However, these two individuals were just two pawns in the game of superior beings, and Michael had just seen the glimpse of them when he tried to recruit the orc as his subordinate. End of Netherrealm arc. Expect a huge jump in Michael's power. Chapter 126, Seeing the Gateway to Getting Out of This Place, excited Michael. Compared to everyone else, he was the real winner of this event despite the treasures disappearing after the Sky Garden. He was told by Gaia that each day a treasure place would appear, except it didn't. Lightning dash, placing his hand on his chest pocket, he activated the speed spell, turning his body into a golden bolt of lightning. The people inside the cave were still unaware of this gateway and still fighting over the skeleton. "Hey Snake, are you there?" Michael willed the earpiece to connect to Gaia and asked, "Wait a minute. Move that aside, you dumb bastard. You. What the hell are you doing? Did I ask you to put that there?" She was screaming inside his head, making him almost switch off the earpiece. He could tell the snake is bossing around everyone, which she loved to do. "Hiya, human." After a few moments, Michael heard her voice. This time, there were no buzzing sounds of people working or Gaia screaming at somebody. "Hiya, Snake. You seem happy without me," he said, Hiya chuckling. "Of course I am, and how are you still alive?" She teased him, trying to hide the delight in her heart of hearing his voice after so long. "Don't get used to it. I'm coming home? Really?" There was an elevation in her voice, yet soon she pretended not to be happy of him returning and continued to tease him. "Oh, so soon? Why don't you stay there a bit longer?" "The portal is already opened. You ungrateful snake. I'm currently heading out there to get the hell out of here." "Shit. Hey," she suddenly screamed again. "I'm gonna rip off your hands and attach them to your butt. You should go. I can't hear you scream in my ears no more. Yeah, you do that. I have to babysit these stupid bastards, or they might put the meat in the sewers." She cut off the line while he continued to run towards the portal. He couldn't wait to see the renovation works, as well as his new restaurant that Gaia was boasting about. If he wants to keep a healthy and respectable relationship with Aragoth and major powers in the Elon continent, he had to keep his base of operations presentable to people. The Sunrise sect he left was barely presentable, as it could be looked at as a ruin. With these renovations, he hoped to receive a good amount of badass points every month, as the system said. For badass points, he got the Sunrise sect, and the restaurant could provide him with a steady flow of gold coins. No matter which world he was in, the rich liked to spend their time and money in a place suited to their taste and status. His two henchmen Daniel and Ricky were currently handing out flyers and hiring bards to promote the new restaurant. Although he had only one competition worth noticing, he didn't hold off his gold coins, but ordered Gaia to spend as much as she wants to promote their restaurant. Thinking about his new schedule, he took a deep breath. In the daytime, he needed to be at the Majestic making pills and potions for the Majestic, oversee the restaurant, and play with the baby dragon. In the nighttime, he had to terrorize the kingdom by killing criminals and such to keep the legend of Lucifer spread across the kingdom. However, after he leaves this place, he should lay low because killing Jane brought the frickin' church and attracted the king's notice, according to Gaia. He was running towards the light beam on the horizon for hours, but it felt like he was running on a treadmill, not getting closer to the light beam. Meanwhile, the baby dragon woke and clawed his chest to make him stop running. The golden bolt of lightning slowly faded away, revealing Michael. It began to sour him with wet kisses, rubbing its little head against his chin. All right, we'll take a little break. Compared to everyone else in the body refining stage, he had triple the amount of arch energy in his body. Yet he was not an exception to getting tired of using all the arch energy in his body, for example, using spells like Lightning Dash. In the daytime, powerful netherils rarely made an appearance, at least to his knowledge. During the nighttime, he did detect a bunch of core formation and even a few core strengthening netherils in his environmental scanning. Nonetheless, he knew even with the masking effect and stealthy approach, it would be impossible to hunt these powerful creatures. Having a system doesn't mean he should get into fights half-cocked. Are you hungry again? Sitting under the shade of a huge tree, he asked the baby dragon playfully. Those vertical slit pupils of the scaly creature instantly transformed themselves to those of a puppy looking at the juicy red slice of meat in Michael's hand. Here you go, he said after throwing the piece of meat a few meters away from him. He didn't want to spoon-feed the baby dragon, spoiling the dragon. The baby dragon threw a little temper tantrum before hopping towards the piece of meat. System, open the pet window again. He willed the system. Soon, the bluish interface filled his vision. Pet name, race, Forest Dragon Trust, 94% power. Arch sensing stage 1 inch. It'll come up with a new name soon in system. Is there a way to change my dragon's race? This question sounded so stupid in his head. However, the system did boast that it could do anything given enough badass points. So why the heck not? System level is too low to answer the host question. He sighed, seeing the grayish notification box in front of him. According to Upbrass memories, this world seemed to have 4 dragon bloodlines: Inferior Dragon, Forest Dragon, Grim Dragon, and the noblest of them all, Royal Dragon. Rarity and power increased respectively from Inferior Dragon to Royal Dragon. The latter was rare to the point that only a handful of people in this world had seen them with their own eyes. If this was only rarity and power, Michael wouldn't have worried about the race much, but it was not. The Inferior Dragon could only reach the core strengthening stage, not one stage above. Forest Dragon could reach one stage above them, the soul refining stage, except most of them would die of old age. Only the dragon with either royal or grim bloodline had the chance to step into the half-immortal or to the stages above them. According to Upbrass memory, grim dragons were the cheeky, pervy ones who loved to kidnap princes and princesses just for fun. They also loved to hoard anything that shines in the light and to expand their treasure hoard. They would usually terrorize a settlement, making them hand over the valuables to it. They were practically the bandits of the dragons. With no care of its bloodline, the baby dragon munched on the meat while occasionally letting out small burps. I've been calling you baby dragon. What's your gender? He wondered, trying to see if there's any genitalia in its body, yet after staring at the baby dragon for a couple of seconds, he sighed and let go of this unfruitful search. System version 2. 0 host. Michael cultivation level. Body refining stage. Level 10 experience points. 18000/200000. 1,110,000 experience points remaining to be consumed. Badass points. 70,000 skills and spells. Wind Blast. LVL 2 responsive shield. LVL 3 environment scanning. LVL 2 Ignitia, LVL-2 Lightning Dash, LVL-2 Energy Devour, LVL-1 Death Range, LVL-2 Techniques, Swords of Destiny, 88% Mastery Occupation, Core Disciple of Sunrise Sect, the Guardian of Sunrise Sect, Lord Lucifer of the Abyssal Status. Healthy Goals: Control the World, Rebuild the Order of Death. Utility Function: Banker, LVL-2, Ratio, 1,000 Gold Coins, 5 Badass Points, Wealth, 685,000 Gold. Special Trait: 5-star Alchemist Subordinates, Gaia, Loyalty level 95%, Base of Operation, Sunrise Sect, the Abyssal. The number of Badass Points and Experience Points immediately brightened his face. He became one step closer to reach the top of the food chain. The first thing he wanted to do after getting out is upgrading the system to level 3, because it keeps telling him the system level is too low to answer many of his questions. 30,000 Badass Points seemed humongous when he upgraded the system to level 2, but now he could spend this amount without batting an eye. Michael was positive that Selena would come looking for him, doubting him for Jane's death. At that time, he wouldn't be the same person she attacked at the waterfall. This time, he would have the strength to return the favor in case she tries to attack him. Come on, baby dragon, let's go. He stood up looking at the light beam again as the baby dragon came hopping to him. It then clawed its way to Michael's shoulder. In his focus at the portal, he failed to notice the grayish scale on the dragon's belly, which was crimson red before. Eventually running for another 2.5 hours. Finally, the light beam seemed closer to him. On the distance around the light beam, he could see a few camp tents and people who were packing up their stuff to leave the Netherrealm. Now that we have finished with the Netherrealm arc, we can finally get into the interesting parts. How about an adventure? Chapter 127. The closer he got to the campsite, he finally understood where the disciples of Aragoth went after he met them at the Sky Garden. They were spending their time waiting for the portal to appear. Stay inside, he said calmly, looking at the baby dragon. The baby dragon let out a reluctant shrill before making its way into its dark home, Michael's coat pocket. Having a perfect way to keep the dragon safe didn't mean he could be careless. Many prying eyes of those rogue cultivators and of those who desire to have a dragon at their disposal might try to get their hands on the baby dragon. Obviously, he was not planning to keep the baby dragon hidden forever. What's the point of having a dragon if he couldn't show off to increase the badass points? But for now, he decided to keep the baby dragon hidden. He was positive that prominent figures he met before entering the Netherrealm would come again. Those people were ruthless, dangerous, and powerful enough to make him disappear overnight. Despite the system's nagging to explore this world, adventure out of Breedia, he was ignoring the system as his full focus was on getting stronger to the point where he doesn't need to worry about someone taking the things he loves and cherishes. At the present moment, he might have seemed overpowered, undefeatable even, but he only fought with inexperienced snotty kids like Maisie or Selena. The world was vast. There would be people who are cunning, strong, yet deceitful. These people would overwhelm his advantage of having a system with their brain and actions. He was indeed the #1 hitman/assassin back on Earth, but that certainly didn't mean he's the #1 genius evil mastermind. To face people of that caliber, the only foolproof way he found is becoming powerful enough to defeat their tricks with overwhelming strength. This wasn't a novel he used to read. This was his life, a life he planned to live like a god. Unlike those main characters in the novels, he self-evaluated him to find his weaknesses as well as his strengths. Relying on luck or even on the system would not be one of his weaknesses. When he approached the campgrounds, he stopped using the lightning dash. By walking, he drew the attention of fewer eyes. One by one, the youngsters dismantled their tents. Some of them were fancy, some of them were makeshift, and the tent Michael was walking towards was not the latter. The flag with a large greatsword drawn on it waved in the wind majestically. Outside of the tent, a reddish-haired youngster calmly watched over his friends doing all the dirty work. There was a hint of surprise in Nathan's eyes when he laid his eyes on Ghost. Soon, he twitched his nose because Ghost didn't exactly smell like Jasmine's. He reeked blood and dust. Ghost, Nathan each gave a short nod. "It's fortunate I met you here," When we go outside, come with me to get your coins, said Nathan, making Michael grin in delight. Renovating the sect, building the restaurant cost them more than he expected. Even as he speaks, Gaia was taking money from Majestic and spending it on the construction works. After Nathan settles his debt, he would be a 1.7 million richer. I didn't see you after the Sky Garden. Any luck finding treasures? He probed Nathan to see him shake his head. Our sole purpose to come here was getting rare herbs. Fortunately, we got those on the very first day. So we didn't roam around the place looking for more treasures. Besides, I heard there weren't any treasures after the Sky Garden. Those brown eyes of Nathan contained a hint of suspicion within them. When he first met Ghost, he didn't reek blood, and now he is, which meant he battled something, and chances were he was trying to get a treasure. I was fortunate enough to come across few, Michael answered, showing his lack of interest in discussing this further. Nathan was nice enough not to ask further questions, which Michael appreciated very much. About that contract I promised, you have to come to Aragoth and ask for me. Will do as soon as I break through to the body strengthening stage. He intentionally let these words out to milk some badass points through impressing these youngsters. Just as he expected, he began to hear the ringing sounds of the system notification in his mind. Nathan's mouth slightly opened in sudden surprise. He was speechless. A few moments after, he regained his previous composure. Very well then, meet me whenever you can, he said with a short nod. Nathan, are you an alchemist as well? Michael asked the question in his mind ever since he met Nathan. Nathan seemed like he was expecting this question from him. Yes, I'm a level 2 alchemist. What gave me away? For the first time, the serious expression on Nathan faded away, and instead, a small chuckle occupied his face. Michael pointed at him. You said your sole purpose of coming to Netherrealm was to find rare herbs. Who else would do that except alchemists? Besides, Nathan didn't exactly radiate a warrior vibe. In fact, he seemed like a person who grew up like a greenhouse flower in Michael's eyes. Boom! As he finished speaking, a thunderous clap could be heard. They looked at the light beam to see at the bottom, on the ground level, a grayish hole big enough to let in a group of 5 appear. The portal has opened. Finally. Heck yeah. I'm going to drink myself to death. The rather silent atmosphere, the appearance of this portal instantly elevated the mood of these youngsters. They cheered, clapped, and bounced in joy while a few who barely survived this place sighed in relief. Shall we? Michael gestured at Nathan to lead the way as he followed them behind to the portal, controlling the excitement of returning to his sect, his friend. The groups with either one of the 3 big sects symbol on their chest entered through the portal first while everyone made way for them. Nathan and his group could have taken the first place, but Nathan just let them pass through for some reason. Finally, with one last look back at the Netherrealm, he stepped into the darkness, letting the portal surround him. Surprise, sucker! The very next moment, Michael stepped out of the portal. He felt a sharp pain in his hand. He turned around with a wide grin to see Gaia was standing in front of him, showing her white row of teeth. What are you doing here? He didn't expect her to come over here to welcome him personally. This gesture of her truly surprised him. Making sure you reach our home safely. She defined the house and the sect as our with no hesitation. Yeah, right? He rolled his eyes, turning his gaze at the crowd to locate Nathan. As time passed, the ground became more and more crowded. Come on, let's find those Aragoth people and get our money. Wait a minute, she pulled his sleeve. She then stared at him from his top to bottom, frowning. Is there something you want to tell me? Another surprise hit Michael's core. Apparently, she was great at reading faces, even Michael's. The baby dragon might have sensed the change in the surroundings and stopped moving, but she knew he was hiding something just by looking at the slight upcurve on the corner of his mouth. Nope, just keep your damn mouth shut and follow me, plop. He playfully slapped the back of her neck, gesturing her to follow him. She would have ripped the hands off before even someone tries to slap her, but when it comes to him, she loved interactions like this. Wiggling through the crowd, he found the same flag as he did before. Nathan was surrounded by a bunch of youngsters of his age, as well as a couple of older guys who wore distinctive crimson-colored clothes. House of Bradley. She immediately recognized those crimson-robed people as the members of House Bradley. Seeing him and Gaia approaching them, they whispered something into Nathan's ear as he turned around. Uncle, he is the one I was talking about from the crowd. A stutty-looking man stepped forward with 2 guards at each side. He was a level 10, core formation stage warrior. Michael could sense he was just a couple of months of cultivation from reaching the next stage. I heard you did good back there. Young man, his hazel black eyes scanned Michael from head to toe while letting out a burst of wild laughter. It's an honor to meet you, sir, Michael said in return, grinning ear to ear. Cut the sir crap. Call me Lord Malin. As you wish, Lord Malin. Here you go. The very next moment, Malin threw him a space ring with a horse etched onto it. This was the symbol of House Bradley. Michael did not even check inside the ring, as he put the ring inside his system storage. This was a gesture to show them that he trusts them as well as to be in their good gracious. If he wanted to survive in this world full of powerful men, he had to be under the shade of powerful men like House Bradley, until he himself reached the point of being the superpower. I heard you're also a 5-star alchemist. How about visit us sometime and let us pick your brain a little? Of course, Lord Malin. As soon as I finish dealing with some things back at my sect, I will come to visit you. Michael was not an idiot not to notice the ulterior motive behind Malin's invitation. Malin's voice betrayed him, showing Michael that this man needs something from him. Wonderful, and trust me, young man, it will be worth your time. Chapter 128. Brother Ghost is back. The moment he landed on the outskirts of the Sunrise sect, a group led by Jack let out a thunderous roar. They bounced, cheered, and screamed his name, making Michael smile a bit. Among the crowd of disciples, he also noticed a group of new faces who had musical instruments such as drums, berimbau, atabak drum, and pandero. Previously, when he first came to the sect, the outskirts were occupied with overgrown shrubs, thorns, and one could definitely tell this place was not very much looked after. However, at the present moment, nothing was overgrown. Thorns had completely disappeared from his sight. The shrubs were replaced with seedlings of flower plants. Brother Ghost, Jack came running bearing a face full of excitement and joy. Jack, you've leveled up. Jack moved on from Foundation Stage Level 4 to Level 8. Michael patted him on the back, making Jack grin even more. I gave that bastard enough pills to reach the body refining stage. Plop. As usual, Gaia slapped Jack as everyone began to laugh out loud. What are you waiting for? Beat it, Jack ordered, looking at the group with musical instruments. Instantly, the festive music reverberated the foothills of the Sunrise sect, showing every single living being of Michael's triumph return. The beats, the dance, and the festive mood that could be seen on everyone's face slightly reminded him of the Carnival of Rio de Janeiro back on Earth. Unlike back on Earth, he was not here to assassinate someone, but to enjoy his life. The male and female disciples forgot about their gender and rocked their bodies, swaying with the beats. You know about this? While making his way to the top, he asked Gaia, "Who do you think is paying for this?" She said, waving her hands. Inside his pocket, the beats awakened the baby dragon. It began to scratch his chest, asking him to let it out. For the next few minutes, Michael kept patting his chest, calming the baby dragon. He did not want to reveal the existence of the baby dragon just yet. Eventually, the sight of the newly renovated buildings fell in his eyes. His brows arched in surprise. The buildings were nowhere near finished, but they were already looking better, much better than the previous ruins. Now we are talking, he thought, feeling the excitement stirring up in his heart. Thank you, guys, looking at the elders and Claire waiting for him in front of the teacher's quarters. Michael said to the musicians with a short smile. Ghost, welcome back. Welcome back to the world of the living, young man. Claire stepped forward, giving him a loving embrace, an embrace of a big sister. Even though his full focus was on getting stronger to rule this world, people like Claire added flavors to his life. In his previous life, he had no people to share his happiness or sadness. Now, thanks to this mysterious system, he got a friend like Gaia, loving people like elders and Claire. You have something in your pocket? Claire asked, feeling something wiggling inside Michael's chest. The very next moment, everyone's gaze landed on Michael's chest. Indeed, there was something wiggling. I knew you were hiding something. She turned him to face her, pulling his shoulders. Take it out. You asked for it. With a chuckle, Michael gently grabbed the baby dragon and pulled it out. A moment of stillness occupied the scene before Gaia jumped back, letting out a squeal. Oh, like it met a lifelong enemy. The baby dragon hissed at Gaia. The dragons and the Nagas were two foes in nature's order. Like a cat doesn't need a reason to hate a mouse, these two were just like that, only in larger, bloodthirsty creatures. A dragon? Holy fuck. My God. None noticed the change in Gaia's face as all their eyes were locked onto the baby dragon. The cute crimson-colored scaly created had attracted all the eyes instantly from Michael himself. Can I? Claire's hands trembled approaching the baby dragon. Her voice stuttered. Hoo-hoo, it's okay. Michael reassured the baby dragon. For a few seconds, the baby dragon hesitated, sniffing Claire's hands before finally letting her take it into her arms. Brother Ghost, that's a dragon, Jack stuttered while everyone except him crowding around Claire to see the baby dragon. Where did you dash? He couldn't even finish his question. Shock overwhelmed his ability to speak. Where else? Netherrealm, Michael said. He then turned around to see Gaia's face show a mix of anger and fear. He could tell she was fracking out despite her power. I don't want that lizard here. She kicked the ground beneath her. Surprise sucker. At the present moment, Michael was lying on the royal sofa. The baby dragon and Gaia were having a staring contest in front of him. If he wanted to break through peacefully, he had to resolve this petty hostility between her and this little dragon. In the future, these two may have to fight beside each other. How could they do that if they don't trust each other? He must root out the hate for each other from their hearts before the baby dragon grows up to be a big dragon. For Gaia, he decided to give her some tough love to realize how stupid it is to fight with this baby dragon. Gaia, what? She asked without taking her eyes off the baby dragon. Doesn't this seem childish to you? He stepped in, giving a quick slap to both on the head. You, Michael aimed his eyes at Gaia. You're a grown-ass girl, yet you are fighting with this baby dragon. She tried to open her lips, only to get yelled at again. I don't give a damn about what the dragons did to Nagas or Nagas to dragons. I want you two to trust each other. No food for you two until you find a way to get along. A horrified expression could be seen on their faces. The baby dragon let out a crying hoo-hoo. He was deadly serious about starving them. She could tell that much. Now she had two choices. The first choice, trying to steal food from the restaurant, but she didn't believe she could achieve that feat with him around. The second choice, find a way to get along with the baby dragon, as he said. Oh, this is not my fault. You little asshole. She wanted to strangle the baby dragon when she heard it blame her for his anger. The baby dragon hissed, ready to scratch her pretty face. It didn't feel a bit afraid of his natural enemy, Naga. After Michael's departure, they continued the staring contest, trying to figure out a way to get along. Since he had to break through to the body strengthening stage, he ordered Gaia not to renovate the house when he was in the Netherrealm. So this worn-out home remained the same. He sat on his bed, eyes closed. System. Let's begin system version 2. 0 host. Michael cultivation level. Body refining stage. Level 10 experience points. 18000/2000000. 1,110,000 experience points remaining to be consumed. Badass points. 70,000 skills and spells. Wind Blast. LVL2 responsive shield. LVL3 environment scanning. LVL2 ignitia. LVL2 lightning dash. LVL2 energy devour. LVL1 death range. LVL2 techniques. Swords of Destiny. 88% mastery occupation. Core disciple of Sunrise Sect, the guardian of Sunrise Sect, Lord Lucifer of the Abyssal status. Healthy goals. Control the world, rebuild the order of death utility function. Banker. LVL2, ratio, 1,000 gold coins. 5 badass points. Wealth, 685,000 gold special trait. 5-star alchemist subordinates. Gaia, loyalty level 95%. Base of operation. Sunrise Sect, the Abyssal. He willed his status to come forward, staring at all the unconsumed experience points. He began the process of breaking through. Does the host wish to break through to the body strengthening stage? Yes. The system requires host 3 days to reach the next stage. Warning, The system will be offline for 3 days. Upgrade yourself to version 3 and then begin the breakthrough process. Michael ordered the system telepathically. The next moment, the interface in front of him faded away and darkness surrounded his mind. In the pitch-black darkness, Michael's consciousness brought him the memories of Earth. The way he grew up in an orphanage that was a front to an arms and drugs dealing operation. He was bullied and beaten by those things despite his little age every day. As a little kid, he wanted to be a teacher. Every time the thugs would ask the kids in the orphanage to smuggle drugs, Michael resisted them. In return, he would be beaten to a pulp, beaten until his little heart finally gave up resisting them. He learned to adapt, bend the situation to his favor. In this life, the circumstances changed, but odds against him remained the same. After 3 days, congratulations to the host for reaching the next stage, the body strengthening stage. Congratulations to the host for leveling up. The current level is Body Strengthening Stage Level 1. Congratulations to the host for leveling up. The current level is Body Strengthening Stage Level 2. Congratulations to the host for leveling up. The current level is Body Strengthening Stage Level 3. Congratulations to the host for leveling up. The current level is Body Strengthening Stage Level 4. The system has been successfully upgraded to version 3. Omega Level Warning. Activating Countermeasures. System Safe Mode activated. Chapter 129. The system's bluish interface flickered soon. The bluish color turned to something gray-dark. What the heck happened? An Ohm level warning? What is that? Many questions riddled his mind. System level is too low to answer host question. Why am I not surprised? Michael sighed. Little by little, he began to realize something called Omega is messing with the system. This system was not like a system in the novels he used to read about. The badass system seemed to have a backstory of its own, enemies of its own. The system was an absolute peak existence in his mind, but now it looked like there's something beyond that. He was nowhere near facing threats on that scale. All he could do for now was getting stronger. He showed this Omega threat to the corner of his mind and focused on his stats. System version 3. 0. Safe mode. Host. Michael cultivation level. Body strengthening stage. Level 4 experience points. 190000/30000 badass points. 40,000 skills and spells. Wind blast. LVL2 responsive shield. LVL3 environment scanning. LVL2 ignitia. LVL2 lightning dash. LVL2 energy devolver. LVL1 death range. LVL2 techniques. Swords of destiny. 88% mastery occupation. Core disciple of Sunrise Sect, the guardian of Sunrise Sect, Lord Lucifer of the abyssal status. Healthy goals. Control the world, rebuild the order. Of death utility function. Banker. LVL2 ratio 1,000 gold coins. 5 badass points. Wealth. 1,685,000 gold special trait. 5-star alchemist subordinates. Gaia. Loyalty level 95%. Base of operation. Sunrise Sect, the abyssal system. How much for upgrading the banker function to level 3? A loading icon appeared in front of him. This was new, yet he decided not to ask because he knew it might be related to the system running on safe mode. 20,000 badass points. The ration will be 1,000 gold coins to 10 badass points. With no hesitation, he willed the system to upgrade the function. In a desperate situation, 100 badass points could save his life. So keeping this function upgraded would let him get those life-saving badass points. Base of operation. The Sunrise Sect current leader. Claire Marigold level. 1 number of members. 34 status. Declined legend. 30/1000. Still a crappy old sect where a 5-star alchemist resides. Compared to before, there was no debt, and the legend of the sect increased by 10 points. He did not feel demotivated by the measly 10 points increase. He knew the legend would grow after putting his plan for the Broad River sect in motion. Besides, he still didn't give all the spell scrolls he got from the cave, not to mention the 80 to 100 herbs he plucked from the Sky Garden. Furthermore, he was absolutely positive that getting the contract of Aragoth would not only bring him millions of gold coins, but also elevate the sect status. Time to learn a new spell. Excitement overwhelmed his senses. He opened the system storage. Ring of Fire, spell name. Ring of Fire effect. Creates a shockwave of flames and a ring of fire around the caster for a short amount of time. Upgradable. Upgradable through Mentor function current level. Rare system. I wish to learn this spell. In his arsenal, Ignitia acted as both close combat and long-range combat spell. The sword mastery enhanced his close combat skill even further. The only thing he lacked was an area of effect. AoE, spell. This Ring of Fire could be the fix to that problem. Activating Mentor feature, scanning the Ring of Fire spell. System found improvements to the spell. Does the host wish to improve the spell? Yes, he said without hiding the excitement in his heart. 1,000 badass points required to improve the spell. Oh, I thought you were going to do this for free. Sarcasm overflowed in his tone. Take it he experienced the familiar acute pain in his brain. When he opened his eyes, his vision was blocked by a crimson-red warning. Maximum recommended spell number reached. The system advised host to stop learning any more spells before reaching the next stage in cultivation. Exceeding the maximum spell number would result in nausea, headache, muscle pain, memory loss, etc. Geez, fuck, I was kind of hoping to learn all these rare spells to become super op. The warning really frustrated him. He gritted his teeth and swallowed the frustration. He could not fight the system. The rational thing to do was upgrade the existing spells before learning more despite his desire to learn new spells. The Ring of Fire Mastery was at the level of 50%. If he wanted to reach 100%, he had to practice the spell and use this spell more often. All right, I can live with the spells I already have. Hey, suddenly Michael remembered something. System, where are my rewards for upgrading you? Oh, come on. Why should I upgrade your ass if you won't give me some sort of rewards? Host will get rewards after the system terminates the safe mode. And when would that be? The silence made him even more frustrated thinking about the 30,000 badass points he spent on upgrading this jerk of a system. Finally, with a long sigh, he closed the system, letting his eyes bathe in the daylight. Sister Elia, that damn lizard tore my clothes. Hoo-hoo, I'm going to tear you apart. Sister Elia, calm down. It's just a baby outside of his room. He heard the yellings. What now? He sighed and made his way towards the door. He opened the door to see the baby dragon in Cindy's hands while Gaia was waving a thin needle-like stick at the baby dragon. However, all of them paused seeing him walk out of his room. Brother Ghost. Hoo-hoo. Cindy almost threw her hands up, dropping the baby dragon in her hands when she saw him. The baby dragon wagged its tail like a puppy, reached out its claws to shower him with kisses. He crouched down to receive a soft, tender kiss from Cindy on one cheek and wet, nibbling kisses on the other from the baby dragon. Body strengthening stage level 4. Why am I not surprised? He was just a body refining stage cultivator a few weeks ago. Now he turned himself into a body strengthening stage level 4 warrior. His speed of cultivation was really monstrous. Even she couldn't be compared to his speed. Coupled with his war god body and the orc who could summon netherils, she knew he's going to get even stronger. Although she had a bad feeling about this orc, they had to work with the orc to grow their strength. The church and the guardians were still searching for Jane's killer. She knew that Selena would soon come looking for Ghost in blind anger. To face a threat like the church or the guardians, they needed servants like this orc. Cindy, when did you reach the foundation stage? Michael pecked her on the cheek, ruffling her carefully combed hair. Sister Elia is teaching me to cultivate, really? Actually, he was surprised to see the selfish snake care about Cindy. Oh, I miss you too, baby dragon. The baby dragon was relentlessly kissing all over his face, trying its absolute best to get his attention. Cindy, where's your mother? He carried the little girl in his hand while the baby dragon sat on top of his shoulder. Seeing its human has returned, the baby dragon felt safe, looking at Gaia. It stuck its tongue out, giving her a "yeah, I did tear your clothes" look. Don't be too cocky, lizard. I can still squeeze you to death. The hostility he saw the first time in their eyes now became less. At least they didn't kill each other, he thought. Mother and little brother is still at Rivertown. I will meet them there. And Elia, she was lazily laying on the sofa. What? She asked. I have a gift for you. Her face slightly brightened as she stood straight on the sofa. Michael retrieved the femur he got from the skeleton, instantly making everyone in the room feel the pressure. Whoa! Gaia was overwhelmed by the arch energy radiation coming from a bone. She walked towards him with a slightly open mouth. This is, yes, a bone of a fusion stage cultivator. She took the bone with the utmost care from Michael's hand. The baby dragon stared at the bone, sensing the power, while Cindy just scratched her little head, having no idea about the bone. You can absorb this energy to reach the next level. She blankly nodded, still feeling overwhelmed by the energy. Do you have more? He wanted to punch this greedy snake in the face. Many would kill to get their hands on a single bone yet. She was asking for more with a serious face. Yeah, I have a whole skeleton under my bed, he answered sarcastically, making her chuckle a bit. Where to? She put the bone in her space ring and asked him on his way to the outside. To expand our herbal garden, he would have given the herbs to Gaia 3 days ago, but these herbs were rare and required his attention while planting. Therefore, he kept the herbs until now. To the herbi garden, Cindy shouted joyfully, pointing her finger towards the herbal garden's direction. Yes, to the herbi garden. Chapter 130. Even from hundreds of meters away from the herbal garden, one could smell the medicinal fragrance in the air. Lush green, morning sky orange, rose pink, and various colors of plants welcomed Michael with a sway in the wind. The disciples were watering the herbs regularly under the supervision of Elder Reiner, who now built a swing in the middle of the herbal garden to spend his free time in this peaceful atmosphere. At the present moment, the herbal garden was approximately 500 square feet in area. Quite a distance from the garden area, he noticed a couple of workers digging through. What are they doing? He asked Gaia. We'll build a dome covering the garden, a glass dome. I tell Elby Grand, her eyes sparkle with excitement talking about the dome. Of course, we don't have enough coins to start the construction. They're just digging the ground for the foundation, Michael nodded. Expanding the herbal garden would definitely increase the sex legend, as well as help him make varieties of potions and pills. Since Gaia was a core formation warrior, he could start expanding the garden with no fear of someone stealing his herbs. He also planned to use the Aragoth as his protection charm. Elder Reiner, the look-alike of Gandalf, was startled, noticing Michael's cultivation level. His jaws opened wide. Young man, when did you reach the body-strengthening stage, and how did you jump 4 levels? He came forward, leaving the swing. Nether Realm. Elder Reiner, I was lucky to find a few rare herbs. Do you want to see them? Elder Reiner's face brightened as he nodded vigorously like a little child. Michael flicked his wrist, ordering the system to place all the herbs in the storage in front of him. The very next moment, 98 to be exact herbs appeared in a neat row, making Elder Reiner almost faint on the spot because all of them were rare, extremely rare. He didn't open up the matter that he gave legendary herbs like Tiger Cress, Diamond Leaf, Oglio Root, and Cavern Petal to Aragoth in exchange for the alchemy supply contract. So many herbs. Elder Reiner dropped to his knees, smelling, feeling, touching the herbs one by one. Although he didn't recognize many herbs in here, he could sense the powerful medical arch energy radiating from within those herbs. You really had a great time there, didn't you? Gaia knew about his actions in the herbal garden. Still, seeing these herbs with her eyes slightly shocked her. Pretty. Cindy's big eyes sparkled looking at the ocean jasmine, which is a transparent ocean blue flower. The sweet fragrance and the beauty of the 5-petal flower overwhelmed Cindy. It's called ocean jasmine. Am I right, Ghost? Suddenly, he heard the voice of Claire. Turning around, he saw sect leader Claire, as beautiful as the ocean jasmine itself, walking towards him with a smile like a morning sun ray. Her golden blonde hair now became more golden and wavy, dancing in on her shoulder. You're right, sect leader Claire. You have grown stronger. Claire clutched his biceps playfully, not as stunned as Elder Reiner. After hearing what Gaia did to those adventurers and Michael's feet during the Phoenix auction fair, she herself had grown stronger, tougher. She wanted to be the leader everyone follows to death, not a sissy. What could make her afraid when she has Ghost behind her? His reputation had even reached the capital city. The king of Breedia himself treated them with the utmost respect because of Ghost. He was the guardian for all of them. Michael didn't fail to notice the confidence in her eyes. The woman in front of him was not the meekly soft Claire he first met. This was a new person. Not only her, everyone in the sect seemed to be a new person. He affected the greater than he expected. She gave a quick kiss to the baby dragon on his shoulder, and then she looked at the little Cindy. When Michael put the little girl down, she immediately went straight to the ocean jasmine, burying her nose onto the petals. Just as she was about to pluck the flower, Claire grabbed her little hands. "Cindy, if you love a flower, don't pluck it. Because if you pluck it, it dies and it ceases to be what you love. So if you love a flower, let it be." Love is not about possession. Love is about appreciation. Michael didn't mind Cindy pluck the flower, of course. He would have reminded her of the preciousness of the flower before giving it to her, because he would never spoil her. However, Claire's words made more sense. "Yes. Teacher Claire, I will not pluck any flowers, I promise." "Good." Claire ruffled her head, giving her a warm kiss on the forehead. "Elder Reiner, shall we start planting them?" For the next few hours, Elder Reiner, Michael, Jack, and many male disciples got their hands dirty, planting each herb in the suitable place following Michael's instruction. Gaia, Claire, and the girls made lemonade, keeping the workers energetic while the baby dragon played fetch with Cindy. The scene resembled the scenes of a happy, feel-good movie. Michael mixed the netheril ash with the soil in the right ratio to make the herbs grow faster and healthier. The previously 500 square feet garden now became almost triple the size, as many of the herbs Michael brought would take a lot of ground to grow. After finishing planting them, he plucked enough leaves, roots, flowers, and parts of the herbs to make new pills and potions. "What are we going to make?" Gaia came after they had done all the dirty work. Though she was with Claire, who made lemonades for them, the snake was only there to drink them, not to work, not to help. Wisdom potion, mind control pills, love potion, elemental resistance potion, perception pills, hallucination potion, camouflage potion, enhanced healing potion, and the one we talked about, the latter, was the pill to counteract the lie-detecting potion. There was a chance of Selena bring this potion to test him to see if he had anything to do with Jane's death. This recipe to neutralize the effects of the lie-detecting potion could only be concocted by him because he bought the recipe from the system. There were two ways to see someone whether lying or not: that potion and the lie detector array. The latter was better than the potion. It could even detect a half a mortal's lies, but it had downsides. It cannot be transported and extremely expensive to create one in the first place. According to Gaia, Nagaland has one, and the church in Kingdom Zaynad. Even an immortal couldn't relocate or transport the array, let alone a puny body strengthening warrior like Selena. Sect leader Claire, we need to discuss something. Call all the elders. He was calm, collected, and radiated confidence in his eyes. Seeing his demeanor, Claire didn't worry much but nodded. "The matter about the Broad River sect, right?" Michael nodded at Gaia. He wanted to take a bath before attending the meeting with Claire and the elders because he was reeking blood, sweat, and netheril. He then sent Cindy to help the elders any way she can. After the little girl's figure disappeared from their sight, Gaia spoke. "I asked around about the Broad River sect. They are relatively a small sect that has a total of 152 disciples, 10 teachers for elders, and one sect leader who is the strongest, core formation level 5. Gaia served him with the information she collected about the sect. They mainly focus on runes, but those jokers only have one 3-star rune master and a couple of 2 stars teaching runes. What about the sect's location?" Asked Michael. "Near a broad river in Sarton, hence their name. They don't have huge lands such as us, though. They'll be our first branch." Michael and Gaia grinned, devilishly sharing the same thought. "Also, Gaia, I want you to teach cultivation to Cindy's friends. We should nurture them from little to make them loyal to us. That way, they'll make a great loyal army in the future." He turned into an assassin because those drug dealers abused him and the kids in the orphanage to smuggle drugs. It was the starting point of his path to becoming an assassin. Although he would never abuse those little kids, he did decide to use them. His path to rule this world shadowed his moral codes. To become a ruler of this world, he had to sacrifice a part of his soul. The seed of the Dark Lord inside him had already started to sprout, more than he wanted to. "I like the way you think. Human, she returned a devilish grin of her own. At the present moment, he did not know what he was slowly becoming. He was thinking that everything's under control, except the universe. The higher power has a different plan. However, does everything in this world is black and white? What makes Michael the bad guy, and what makes Noah the good guy? Is Michael really the bad guy for planning to use those innocent kids? There's something you should know about the Broad River sect. Human. Chapter 131. Matthias Mills was sitting in his carriage with his hand bracing his head. A flash of anger could be seen on his tanned face. His sharp gaze stared at the lines of the tree they were passing by. In front of him, a middle-aged woman was pouring him tea. Despite the black cloak covering her face, her movements weren't interrupted by the cloak at all. "Drink this tea. Sect leader, Hillel, soothe your anger," the woman said. If one was to look closely, they could see the burn mark within those shadows of the cloak. "Nothing can soothe my anger." "Ella," gritting his teeth, Matthias answered. "Well, something should, before we make it to the Sunrise sect leader, without letting the tea go to waste." Ella took a sip instead of giving him. Matthias' gaze turned from the scenery outside to Ella, who was now leisurely enjoying the tea. "I'm saying this for your own good. Sect leader, don't underestimate that ghost. Nowadays, these young freaks disobey the laws of nature, like eating breakfast." "Meaning?" Matthias' tone was filled with rage. She knew he is boiling in anger, yet she continued with paying no mind to his mood. "Meaning, you can't weigh him by just looking at his cultivation level. I heard he killed a body-strengthening stage cultivator when he was at a foundation stage. Funny thing is, he was also a sect leader. Are you implying dash?" "I'm implying nothing. I just want you to be calm when we talk to him. Don't be rash," Ella interrupted Matthias, advising him not to be rash, except she wanted him to be. "If you don't mind, sect leader, let me do the talking." A flash of anger ran through his face. He reached out. Then he grabbed Ella by her neck as he said, "I do mind because in the sect leader, not you." He was squeezing the life out of Ella. She was helpless. Only after a few moments of torturing her, he let go of her neck. "Don't think I don't know you eyeing the sect leader seat for yourself, but you can't be the face of the sect with a face like that." A murderous glare could be seen in her eyes, but the only thing she could do is swallow her anger and wait for the right time to strike him down. "Just wait until I reach the core formation stage. It'll rip you to pieces," thought Ella. The rest of the journey was filled with silence in the carriage until they saw lines of carriages and crowds of people. Ella recognized most of the carriages belonged to the noble houses of Sarton. Her disciples told her about the Majestic and its business, yet seeing with her own eyes surprised her nonetheless. The crowd was queuing from the foothills to the Majestic, which was located atop the mountain in front of them. They had to reach the mountaintop to reach their meeting spot, but their path was blocked by these carriages and crowds. "Stop!" Just as they were about to stop behind the last carriage in the queue to the top, they heard the voice of a teenager. Ella looked outside through the window to see a blonde-haired youngster waiting for them in front of the carriage. "Sect leader Matthias, Elder Ella, welcome to Sunrise Sect. Follow me. Sect leader Claire is waiting for you." Seeing there's no way for them to reach the top in the carriage, Ella and Matthias stepped out of the carriage to follow this youngster. "Why didn't Claire come to receive me?" The moment Matthias stepped out, he scowled at the youngster while Ella just stood back waiting for the events to unfold. "Sect leader Claire," the young man emphasized the word sect leader and continued, "is handling something very important, so she sent me to personally receive you and lead you to her. If you please, follow me." The way the youngster answered sparked the fuel of anger inside Matthias. The youngster was just a body refining stage cultivator, level 1 at that, yet he showed no fear seeing a core formation cultivator like Matthias. "Lead the way, kid." Ella was bouncing in joy. The more anger Matthias gets, the better the chance for him to start a battle with Ghost. With a nod towards Ella, he turned around and walked towards the top of the mountain. While they were following the young man, Ella saw a group of girls in revealing dresses, Silver Moon girls. Ella recognized the young man, immediately waved his hands at them, almost like he was instructed to. "Hey, Brother Ghost said he has new pills and potions that would help your senior sister Kaplan. Remind her to visit him. Will do, Jack." The girls gave a flying kiss to the young man, making all the youngsters in the crowd look at him with envy. "So, Jack, Are they friends, Ghost and Sadie, the core disciple of Silvermoon? Ella pondered, of course, Elder Ella. Jack was leading them through the long route so they could notice the renovation sites. Although Matthias paid little interest in the renovation works due to his anger, what he saw was bewildered him. This was not the desolate place he saw a couple of years ago. Everything now seemed improved. Those once cobwebbed, worn-out buildings were being built and renovated. Workers were reconstructing the old paths made of stones with marble tiles. Another group was trimming the overgrown shrubs and bushes which previously made the area look untended. Ella saw the Sunrise Sect disciples before. At that time, they wore the bright orange uniforms, but now, including the youngster in front of her, the disciples wore clothes that were either black or closer to the color black. Oh, I almost forgot. Jack bit his tongue, taking out 2 pamphlets with the Sunrise Sect symbol drawn on them. He then handed over the pamphlets to Matthias and Ella. Without even taking a single glance, Matthias crumbled his pamphlet and threw it away. Ella, on the other hand, took a closer look. "I'd love to take a tour around your sect, Jack." Matthias threw a cold glance at her as she shrugged. "What? Since you don't want me to do the talking, let me at least do this." Matthias saw no trouble in letting her take a stroll around this place. It was not like she could do anything by taking a tour. "Wonderful, Elder Ella. We'll begin our tour." After leaving sect leader Matthias at sect leader Claire's residence, Jack clapped his hands, almost sighing inside. After taking another 100 or so steps through the construction site, they reached lines of individual houses which looked majestic, grand even. Each house was almost finished, but even at this stage, that triangle roof on the front, 3 long chimneys on the top, that white and royal blue paint gave each house a sumptuous characteristic. This time, Matthias' eyes widened in surprise as he followed the youngster to the house, which was just a couple of weeks from getting finished. "Take a break." People Jack shouted at the people who were placing windows, sandpapering the walls to start the painting works, as well as cultivating the ground in front of the house to ornamenting the house with plants and such. Jack's relationship with Gaia and Ghost gave him a certain pull within the sect. He had become the go-to guy to contact Gaia or Ghost. This increased his reputation among his fellow disciples, especially among girls. Sect leader Matthias. Sect leader Claire is waiting for you inside. Is this where the famous ghost of Rivertown lives? Ella asked Jack, looking at the one house, which had no renovation going on. Except for its worn-out look, she could see nobles and the rich going inside using the side entrance and coming out with a wide grin on their faces. "We are waiting for the rest of the buildings to get renovated, Elder Ella. After that, we'll turn this shabby old house into a mansion worthy for our senior brother Ghost and senior sister Elia." Jack wouldn't let anyone look down on Ghost or Elia. "Go through the front entrance. Elder Ella, Brother Ghost is waiting for you." Ella wasn't surprised to hear Jack because on the pamphlet he gave her before, there were 3 golden words flickered. "Meet me, Ghost." Those words were enchanted to let only the holder, Ella, see the words, not Matthias. She nodded before taking slow steps toward the door. Even with a body-strengthening level 9 cultivation, she couldn't help but feel the seed of fear growing inside her regardless of Ghost cultivation level. Creak. With a long sigh of a mix of fear and excitement for this meeting, she opened the door to be stunned by things in front of her. From the outside, the house looked nothing but shabby, old and worn out, yet on the inside, there were fancy cushions, sofas, tables, and many other things that could only be seen in a place like King's Palace. "Welcome, Elder Ella." Her gaze moved from the fancy sofas to the direction of the voice. She saw a youngster in a black long-sleeved tunic and trousers. His raven black hair danced around his broad shoulder. A warm smile could be seen on his perfectly structured face. Through the transparent black long sleeves he wore, she could see the lines of the 6-pack abs and big biceps. Her eyes were momentarily glued to this handsome man she had ever met. "How long are you planning to stand there, Elder Ella?" "That you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference. as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.